Imagine this, you're back in your childhood room for just a moment. Dusty sunlight on the carpet, the soft click of a Game Boy powering on, and that first 8-bit cry of a world waiting to be discovered. It didn't matter if you were huddled under the covers after bedtime or sitting in the back seat on a long drive. The Pokémon world felt limitless, alive, and somehow yours. Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you to everyone who keeps returning to these long-form journeys. Most of you watching are already subscribed, but if you haven't double-checked yet, it would mean the world if you did. And if you've got a friend who grew up trading cards on the playground, just like you did, feel free to share this with them too. Alright, back to the story. Because that feeling you remember, the wonder, the mystery, the sense that something ancient was always hiding behind the next cave entrance, it never really left. It's the spark that shaped our imaginations then, and it's the same spark guiding us tonight as we step once more into the world we grew up dreaming about. A world not of our own, but one we've all dreamed of exploring. The Pokémon universe. From the moment we first booted up that Game Boy cartridge in the 90s, Pokémon has been more than just a game of catching and battling. It's a tapestry woven with myths, legends, and lore that rivals the greatest epic fantasies. And at the heart of it all, the ancient legends that define each region, stories passed down through generations of trainers, elders, and even the Pokémon themselves. Welcome to every Pokémon region's ancient legends, from Kanto to Kalos, where we're diving deep into the primordial tales that make the Pokémon world feel alive, mysterious, and endlessly captivating. I'm your host, and over the next 3 hours, we'll journey through the fog-shrouded mountains of Kanto, the sacred spires of Johto, the primal seas and skies of Hoenn, the cosmic pillars of Sinnoh, the fractured dragons of Unova, and the life-weaving forests of Kalos. But this isn't just a recap of Pokédex entries or anime episodes. No, we're peeling back the layers of in-game lore, hidden texts, NPC dialogues, and subtle environmental storytelling to uncover the origins of these legendary Pokémon. Their roles in creation, destruction, balance, and everything in between. Why does this matter? Because in a franchise that's evolved from pixelated adventures to global phenomenon, these ancient legends are the soul of Pokémon. They're the reason why catching a Zapdos feels like harnessing a storm god, or why encountering Rayquaza high in the ozone layer sends shivers down your spine. These aren't just powerful creatures, they're archetypes of nature's fury, embodiments of philosophical ideals, and guardians of ecosystems on the brink. They remind us that Pokémon isn't merely about gotta catch 'em all. It's about understanding a world's history, its conflicts, and the delicate harmony that keeps it spinning. Let's start by setting the stage. Picture the Pokémon world as an ancient chronicle, each region a chapter in a grand mythos. Long before trainers roamed with their Pokéballs, before gyms and leagues, there were cataclysms and creations etched into stone and passed by word of mouth. These legends aren't random. They're interconnected threads that tie the regions together, hinting at a shared cosmology. From elemental birds that embody the raw forces of weather to dragons that split ideals and truths. These stories explore themes as timeless as they are profound. The clash between land and sea, the birth of time and space, the pursuit of eternal life, and the shadows that lurk in distorted realms. Take Kanto, for instance. The cradle of it all. It's a region steeped in mystery, where the earth itself bears scars from celestial visitors. High in the craggy peaks of Moon, locals speak of a time when a blazing meteor tore through the night sky, crashing into the mountain and scattering shards of otherworldly stone. These weren't ordinary rocks. They were moonstones, glowing under the lunar light, drawing ethereal beings, like Clefairy, to worship them in moonlit rituals. Journals from the Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar Island echo this tale, describing mysterious stones that pulse with an alien energy, as if the stars themselves gifted Kanto a piece of the cosmos. But Moon's secrets pale compared to the roaming spectres that haunt its wilds. the legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres. These aren't pets or prizes, they're primal spirits, elemental harbingers said to perch on ancient sites powered by the world's raw energy. The power plant, a husk of rusted machinery overrun by electric types, was once a throne for Zapdos, the bird of lightning, its storms crackling like thunderous omens. Deep in the icy caverns of the Seafoam Islands, Articuno glides as the embodiment of frozen tempests, freezing the waves in eternal winter. And atop the fiery heights of Ember, or perhaps the winding paths of Victory Road, Moltres rises in flames, a phoenix of volcanic rebirth. NPCs across Kanto whisper of them as birds of lightning, ice and flame, elusive guardians who only appear to those who respect the balance they maintain. Spotting one isn't just rare, it's a brush with divinity, a reminder that Kanto's landscapes were forged by forces beyond human control. As we move westward to Johto, the tone shifts from elemental wanderers to sacred summonings. This region pulses with spirituality, its cities built around towers that bridge the mortal world and the divine. Ecriteque's dance theatre and the ruins nearby tell of a time when twin spires stood tall, the bell tower and the brass tower. The latter, now a charred skeleton known as the Burn Tower, was once the resting place of a colossal guardian of the seas, Lugia, the diving Pokémon. Legends say it slumbered there until catastrophe struck, a blaze that raged for 3 days and nights, forcing Lugia to flee into the Whirl Island's depths. Monks in Ecriteque still mourn the loss, their chants invoking the tower's fall as a warning against hubris. But from destruction came resurrection. Across the city, elders recount how Ho-Oh, the radiant phoenix of the rainbow, witnessed the tower's inferno and, in an act of mercy, revived 3 Pokémon lost in the flames. These became the legendary beasts, Entei, the volcano Pokémon surging with fiery passion, Raikou, the thunderclap incarnate, dashing across plains like living lightning, and Suicune, the North Wind's embodiment, purifying waters with its crystalline aura. Ho-Oh's gift wasn't just life, it was purpose, binding them as eternal wanderers, and those who glimpse Ho-Oh itself, they're promised eternal happiness, a beacon of hope soaring above the bell tower, where climbers brave whirlwinds to earn its blessing. Johto's legends aren't about conquest, they're parables of loss, renewal, and the cycles that keep the spirit world in harmony. Now, venture south to Hoenn, a land of endless oceans and towering volcanoes, where the Earth's fury boils just beneath the surface. Here, the myths escalate into world-shaking epics of primal conflict. Ancient murals etched into the walls of Granite Cave depict 2 titans locked in eternal strife. Groudon, the continent Pokémon, whose every step expands land masses and scorches the skies, and Kyogre, the sea basin Pokémon, summoning torrential rains and rising oceans to reclaim the world for water. Sotopolis City's lore paints their battles as cataclysms that brought ruin to the world, floods drowning civilizations, and droughts cracking the earth, a war between expansion and submersion that threatened to unmake Hoenn itself. Enter the mediator from the heavens, Rayquaza, the sky-high Pokémon, a serpentine dragon coiled in the ozone layer. Descending to the lofty sky pillar, it doesn't fight, it transcends, calming the 2 titans with its mega-evolved majesty and restoring balance. Wallace, the elegant gym leader of Sotopolis, shares this legend with a poetic reverence, describing how Rayquaza halted the endless downpour and drought, weaving land, sea and sky into fragile peace. These aren't isolated beasts, they're the architects of Hoenn's supercontinent. Their slumbers in hidden lairs like Marine Cave and Terror Cave are testament to the vigilance required to prevent apocalypse. Hoenn teaches us that power without equilibrium is destruction, a lesson etched in every tidal wave and seismic rumble. Pushing northward to Sinnoh, we enter a realm of cosmic origins, where myths grapple with the universe's birth. The Canalave library, with its dusty tomes and scholarly whispers, houses the Sinnoh myths, tales of creation that feel like ancient philosophy. At the dawn of time, Dialga, the temporal Pokémon, forged the flow of seconds and eternities from its platinum heart. Beside it, Palkia, the spatial Pokémon, stretched the void into dimensions, crafting the stars and seas from nothingness. But every light casts a shadow. Giratina, the renegade Pokémon, was banished to the Distortion World for its violent nature, ruling a fractured mirror realm where gravity twists and realities bleed. All this began at Spear Pillar, a shattered plateau piercing the heavens, said to be where all began. Its ruins, carved with motifs of clocks, pearls, and antimatter voids, stand as monuments to Genesis. Sinnoh's legends aren't about battles between elements. They're metaphysical, pondering existence itself. Dialga's roars bend time, Palkia's presence warps space, and Giratina's exile warns of the chaos within order. To stand at Spear Pillar is to feel the weight of infinity, a humbling reminder that Sinnoh's snowy tundras and glittering lakes are but echoes of divine craftsmanship. Across the sea lies Unova, a region inspired by New York's skyline, yet rooted in draconic folklore. Here, the ancient legends revolve around division and duality, a split that mirrors human ambition. Unova's elders speak of a single, harmonious dragon that once perched atop the Dragon's Spiral Tower, a spiralling edifice in the icy north. Two heroic brothers, one championing truth and the other ideals, sought its power to unite their warring kingdom. But their ideals clashed, causing the dragon to fracture. Its tail became Zekrom, the deep black dragon of ideals, crackling with electric fury. Its head formed Reshiram, the vast white dragon of truth, blazing with fiery conviction. The body? It fled as Kurem, the boundary dragon, a frozen husk awaiting reunion. An elder in Opelucid City laments how the dragon shed its body and became three, breaking ancient harmony and leaving Unova's heroes to wander with their ideals embodied. The Dragon's Spiral Tower, with its frozen chambers and resonant echoes, stands as a relic of that schism, where heroes once climbed to claim draconic might. Unova's myth is a cautionary tale of fragmentation, where black and white forces propel progress, but risk eternal stalemate, urging us to seek the grey balance Kurem represents. Finally, we arrive in Kalos, the region of elegance and eternal cycles, where legends dance with life and death in a delicate ballet. In the opulent halls of Parfum Palace and the shadowed labs of Geosenge, texts describe Cerneas, the life-giver, as a deer-like stag that bestows vitality upon the fading world before retreating into a sleep of 1,000 years. Its antlers bloom with Yggdrasil-like energy, reviving forests and creatures on the brink. Opposing it is Yveltal, the destruction Pokémon, a harbinger bird that absorbs life force, cocooning itself in crystalline hibernation to await the next cycle of decay, but watchfulness binds them. Zygarde, the Order Pokémon, slumbers in the depths of Terminus Cave, its serpentine form a mosaic of cellular guardians. Route 13's researchers warn that when the ecosystem is in danger, it appears, emerging as a 50% or complete form to enforce balance. Kalos's legends form a triad of vitality, entropy, and equilibrium, reflecting the region's beauty, its glowing Geosenge stones and lush Lumiose streets, as a fragile gift demanding stewardship. These are just glimpses, threads in a vast weave. Over the next 3 hours, we'll explore each region's lore in exhaustive detail, from hidden dialogues to environmental clues, uncovering how these legends influence gameplay, story, and even real-world inspirations. Whether you're a long-time fan revisiting childhood wonders or a newcomer hungry for depth, this journey will transform how you see Pokémon. So, grab your Pokédex, settle in, and let's awaken these ancient tales together. The legends await, starting with Kanto's starry crashes and storm-swept perches. The dawn of Pokémon legends. What if I told you that the Pokémon world didn't just spring into existence with the first Pokéball toss? No, its foundations are etched in stories older than the tallest mountains, tales passed down through generations of trainers, scholars, and mystics. These ancient myths aren't just bedtime stories for kids dreaming of their first gym battle. They're the very threads that weave the fabric of every region, explaining why the skies rage, why the earth trembles, and why some Pokémon seem to hold the power of gods themselves. You've felt it, haven't you? That pull toward the unknown, the whisper of legends that make every cave exploration or midnight stargaze feel like uncovering a secret meant just for you. Let's start at the beginning, right where it all feels most personal. Kanto, the cradle of your Pokémon journey. Picture yourself stepping into the shadows of Map Moon for the first time. That iconic cave system riddled with Zubat echoes and the faint glow of something otherworldly. But this isn't just a rocky detour between Pewter City and Cerulean. Deep in its lore, hidden in the scribbles of long-forgotten journals from the Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar Island, lies a cataclysmic event that changed everything. A meteor, hurtling from the cosmos like a divine arrow, struck the heart of Map Moon eons ago. You can almost hear the thunderous impact, feel the ground shudder as fragments scattered across the earth, embedding themselves in the stone like jewels from another world. Those fragments, they're no ordinary rocks, they're moonstones, remnants of that celestial visitor, pulsing with an energy that's as mysterious as it is transformative. And who reveres them? Not humans, not at first. The Clefairy, those ethereal moon-kissed Pokémon with their wide eyes and gentle songs, emerge from the shadows to worship these stones under the silvery glow of the night sky. Imagine it, clusters of Clefairy gathering in hidden chambers of Map Moon, their tiny hands raised in ritual as the moonstones absorb the moonlight and grant them evolution's gift. It's said that, on clear nights, their dances light up the cave walls, a ballet of gratitude to the stars that birthed their kind. This isn't some fan theory or game glitch. It's woven into the world's DNA, a myth that explains why Clefairy are drawn to the moon like moths to a flame, why they evolve only when touched by its borrowed light. But why does this matter to you, the trainer who's battled countless foes? Because this meteor strike isn't just a quirky origin story for a cute Pokémon. It's the dawn of legends, a cosmic punctuation mark that reminds us the Pokémon world is alive with forces beyond our control. Those moonstones scattered far and wide, influencing evolutions across regions, from the timid Clefable's wings to the hardy Graveler's hidden potential. Explorers in Kanto have whispered about it for centuries, warning that tampering with such remnants could awaken dormant powers. Have you ever wondered why Map Moon feels charged with possibility? Why every Clefairy encounter there sends a shiver down your spine? It's because you're standing on sacred ground, where the stars literally fell to earth and sparked a legacy. As we peel back these layers, the myths grow wilder, tying into guardians that roam the skies like living storms. Take the legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. They're not just rare catches for your Pokédex. They're elusive elemental spirits, bound to Kanto's primal forces. Legends describe them as ancient wanderers, born from the raw chaos of nature itself. Articuno, the icy sovereign, perches in the frozen depths of the Seafoam Islands, where geysers erupt like breaths from the deep. Its presence chills the air, freezing waves into crystalline sculptures, a reminder of winter's unyielding grip. Then there's Zapdos, the thunderbird of the power plant, crackling with electricity that could power a city or shatter it. Trainers who've glimpsed it speak of bolts dancing across rusted machinery, as if the bird is recharging the very pulse of the land. And don't get me started on Moltres, the flame-wreathed phoenix haunting Victory Road's volcanic underbelly. Its fiery aura warms the tunnels, but cross it wrong, and you're facing an inferno that tests your soul. These birds aren't tethered to one spot. They roam, embodying lightning, ice, and flame as extensions of Kanto's wild heart. NPC elders in Cerulean or Vermilion will tell you, with a knowing nod, that the birds appear when the balance tips, when pollution chokes the skies, or when unchecked ambition stirs the elements. They're guardians, yes, but unpredictable ones, vanishing like mirages before you can prove your worth. What would you do if one descended upon you, its cry echoing like Judgment Day? These myths shape how Kanto, turning a simple region into a tapestry of peril and wonder. Diving deeper, these stories aren't isolated. They're echoes of a greater cosmic dance. The meteor that birthed the moonstones? Some lore suggests it was no accident, perhaps a fragment from the legendary bird's own domain, a piece of the sky torn loose in their eternal flights. Clefairy, in their rituals, are said to sing hymns that mimic the bird's calls, bridging the earthly and the divine. It's this interconnectedness that makes the myths timeless. They don't just explain Pokémon, they explain us. Why do we chase legends? Because in a world of gym badges and Elite Four triumphs, these tales remind you that true power comes from understanding the ancient rhythms, not conquering them. Think about the implications for your own adventures. Every time you navigate Moon's twisting paths, you're retracing the steps of those first witnesses to the meteor's fall. The air hums with residual energy, and if you're lucky or bold enough, you might catch a Clefairy mid-ritual, its eyes reflecting the stone's glow. But beware, the myths warn of shadows stirred by such intrusions, of Clefable's elusive songs luring the unwary deeper into the unknown. And as for the legendary birds, their perches aren't mere landmarks, the power plant's abandoned hum, the Seafoam Island's misty veils, Victory Road's scorching trials. These are altars to elemental might. Trainers who've sought them out return changed, their teams infused with a spark of that primal fire. This allure pulls you in, doesn't it? The way these myths transform ordinary places into portals of legend. Kanto's lore sets the stage, showing how a single event like the meteor strike ripples outward, influencing everything from a Pikachu's thunderbolt to the awe of facing a legendary. It's no wonder the region feels like home. It's where the world's oldest stories took root, shaping the lore that binds us all. You've probably replayed those early games 100 times, but now, armed with these truths, Moon isn't just a level to grind, it's a birthplace of destiny. Yet as captivating as the Moonstones and Clefairy's worship are, they only scratch the surface of Kanto's celestial secrets. The myths hint at even grander forces at play, ties to the stars and storms that birth not just stones, but the very guardians who watch over the land. These elemental birds, with their ties to lightning, ice and flame, embody the primal chaos that the meteor unleashed, forever altering Kanto's skies. But to truly grasp how these legends cradle the region, we need to explore the heart of it all, the celestial forces that make Kanto more than a starting point, but a nexus of wonder. That's why, up next in Chapter 2, Kanto's celestial cradle will uncover the sky-high origins that connect the dots between falling stars, wandering birds, and the unbreakable spirit of the land. You won't want to miss how these threads pull everything together. What secrets await in the cradle above? Stick around. The real revelations are just beginning. Kanto's celestial cradle. Deep within the rugged heart of Kanto lies Moon, a labyrinth of echoing caverns that has guarded secrets for millennia, drawing trainers like you into its shadowy embrace, not just for battles, but for whispers of the stars themselves. What if I told you that this mountain isn't merely rock and earth, but a cradle for celestial visitors, where a cataclysmic fall from the sky ignited forces that still pulse through the Pokémon world today. Let's descend into its depths together, step by careful step, and unearth the truths that bind Kanto's ancient skies to its living legends. Picture yourself squeezing through a narrow fissure in the mountainside, your flashlight cutting through the perpetual twilight. Mist Moon isn't your average cave system. It's a sprawling network of chambers, some wide as stadiums, others so tight they force you to crawl on hands and knees. Trainers have poked around here since the earliest days of Kanto exploration, chasing rumours of rare fossils or hidden treasures. But go deeper, past the Zubat swarms and the occasional Geodude ambush, and you'll find passages that twist away from the main paths, sealed by time and forgotten by most. These hidden chambers, tucked behind crumbling walls of limestone, hold more than just echoes. They preserve the raw evidence of an event that reshaped the region. I remember my first venture into one of these offshoots, guided by an old miner's tale from Cerulean City. The air grows cooler, damper, as you push aside vines heavy with dew. Suddenly the beam of your light catches something unnatural, a cluster of jagged crystals embedded in the wall, glowing faintly with an otherworldly blue hue. These aren't ordinary gems, they're remnants of meteorites, fragments from a cosmic collision that scarred Moon eons ago. Legends passed down through Kanto's elders speak of a blazing streak across the night sky, a meteor that didn't just crash, it arrived with purpose, infusing the earth with energies from beyond our world. But how do we know this isn't just folklore? The proof lies in the journals scattered across these chambers, brittle pages yellowed by centuries, left behind by scholars and explorers who dared to document what they found. One such journal, etched in faded ink on hides tougher than leather, belongs to a long-lost researcher from the Pokémon Mansion on Cinnabar Island. He describes stumbling upon a vein of these meteor shards deep in the mountain's core, noting how they hummed with a rhythm that synced to the phases of the moon. These stones, he wrote, carry the essence of distant stars, energies that twist reality itself, drawing creatures from the void to our plane. You can almost hear his excitement in those words, the scratch of his quill as he connected the dots between the meteor's impact and strange phenomena reported across Kanto, auroras dancing unnaturally low, Pokémon evolving under impossible conditions. Flip through more of these journals and the links become undeniable. Another entry, from a monk who once meditated in the caves, details how the meteor's fragments, now known as moonstones, radiate a power that resonates with lunar cycles. He observed wild Pokémon gathering near the shards during full moons, their bodies shimmering as if absorbing starlight directly. This otherworldly energy, he theorized, acts as a bridge between our world and the cosmos, pulling in beings attuned to celestial rhythms. It's no coincidence that Moon became a nexus for these forces. The mountain's position, straddling fault lines and ancient ley lines, amplified the meteor's arrival, turning a random strike into a deliberate infusion of cosmic vitality. As you venture further into these hidden alcoves, the journals paint a picture of transformation on a grand scale. One particularly gripping account recounts a night when the researcher witnessed a Clefairy colony emerging from the shadows, their pink forms silhouetted against the cavern's phosphorescent glow. These tiny beings, with their wide eyes and crescent marks, aren't native to Kanto's soils. They're pilgrims from the stars, drawn inexorably to the meteor's call. The journal describes them as ancient wanderers, arriving in waves after the impact, seeking the energies that mirror their own stellar origins. You see, Clefairy lore positions them not as earthly Pokémon, but as envoys from a distant moon or asteroid belt, crash-landed here and forever bound to our world. Now let's talk about those rituals that make Clefairy the true stars of Moon's night. Under the cover of darkness, when the moon hangs full and bright in the Kanto sky, these pilgrims gather in the mountain's open craters, where shafts of moonlight pierce the cavern ceilings like divine spotlights. I've pieced together eyewitness accounts from trainers who've snuck in at midnight, hearts pounding as they hide behind stalagmites. The Clefairy form circles, their voices rising in a melodic chant that echoes like distant wind chimes. They dance in synchronized patterns, paws raised to the sky, invoking the meteor's lingering power. It's mesmerizing, almost hypnotic, each step a tribute to their starborn heritage, a ritual that reaffirms their connection to the heavens. What drives this? The journals reveal it's all tied to renewal and guidance. Clefairy, as ancient star pilgrims, use these moonlit gatherings to recharge, drawing on the meteor's energies to sustain their ethereal nature. One entry notes how a single Clefairy perched on a moonstone altar led the group in a ceremony where beams of light from the stone intertwined with the moonlight, creating a temporary portal of sorts, a swirl of colours that seemed to whisper secrets from across the galaxy. Trainers who interrupt these events often report feeling a surge of calm, a fleeting sense of wonder, as if the stars themselves are sharing their wisdom. But disrupt it fully, and the Clefairy vanish into the depths, their rituals a sacred bond unbroken for generations. Delve deeper into the lore, and you'll uncover how these rituals aren't just spiritual, they're practical, echoing the transformative power that the meteor brought to Kanto. Moonstones, those shimmering relics born from the impact, serve as amplifiers for Pokémon evolution, channeling the same otherworldly energies that first called the Clefairy home. Think about it. A Clefairy holding a moonstone under the ritual's glow doesn't just evolve into Clefable, it transcends, its form blooming with newfound grace as if the stone unlocks a dormant star within. The journals document cases where other Pokémon, like Nidoran or Jigglypuff, gathered at these sites, their evolutions triggered not by chance, but by the deliberate pulse of lunar energy amplified through the stones. This connection hits you hard when you consider the broader implications. The meteor didn't just scatter fragments, it seeded Kanto with a catalyst for change, mirroring the evolutionary leaps that define the Pokémon world. Elders in Pewter City still tell stories of the starfall, how the crash awakened latent powers in the land, allowing species to adapt and thrive in ways impossible before. You might wonder, as I did, if every moonstone evolution is a tiny echo of that ancient event, a Pokémon tapping into the cosmos, just like the Clefairy in their pilgrim dances. It's thrilling to imagine, next time you're in Moon with a moonstone in hand, you're not just triggering an evolution, you're participating in a ritual as old as the stars. But let's not stop at the Clefairy. These celestial ties ripple outward, influencing Kanto's other guardians in subtle ways. The journals hint at how the meteor's energies might have stirred the elemental spirits that roam the skies, the legendary birds whose perches dot the region. Zapdos, with its electric fury, is said to have first sparked in the power plant, drawn by residual static from the impact. Moltres, flame-winged harbinger, nested in Victory Road's volcanic depths, its fire ignited by the meteor's searing entry. And Articuno, the icy sovereign of Seafoam Islands, glides on winds chilled by the mountain's transformed core. These birds aren't random wanderers. They're responses to the celestial cradle, elemental forces awakened to balance the otherworldly influx. Exploring these links, you start to see Moon as the beating heart of Kanto's myths. One journal entry, scrawled in haste during a storm, describes a vision. Clefairy rituals syncing with distant thunder, as if calling the birds to witness their pilgrim rites. It's a web of connections where star energies fuel evolutions, rituals, and even the roamings of legends. Trainers who've collected these journals often keep them secret, fearing the power they hold, power that could unravel the delicate harmony between worlds. Yet sharing these stories, as we're doing now, invites you to join the discovery, to feel that pull toward the unknown. As we emerge from these chambers, flashlight dimming, the weight of it all settles in. Antsy. Moon's hidden truths aren't dusty relics. They're alive, pulsing with the promise of more wonders. The Clefairy's moonlight dances, the journal's revelations, the moonstone's glow. They all point to Kanto as a bridge to the stars, a cradle where cosmic pilgrims found a home. But what happens when those energies clash with earthly tempests, summoning guardians who command the very storms themselves? In the next chapter, Guardians of the Storm, we'll chase those thunderous legends across the seas and towers, uncovering how Kanto's celestial sparks ignited battles that still rage in the skies. You won't want to miss the fury and the flight that awaits. Guardians of the Storm. In the heart of Kanto, where the land pulses with untamed energy, 3 legendary birds soar as eternal guardians of the storm. Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres aren't just powerful Pokémon. They're the living embodiments of nature's raw fury, born from the chaos of elemental forces that shaped the region long before trainers ever set foot here. You might remember chasing their shadows across the map in your first Pokémon adventure. But what if I told you their story runs deeper than any Pokédex entry? These aren't mere beasts. They're spirits that roam the skies, weaving lightning, ice and flame into the very rhythm of Kanto's existence. Let's start at the beginning, because understanding their origins changes how you see every crack of thunder or flicker of frost in the games. Long ago, before the cities rose and the roots were carved, Kanto was a wild tapestry of clashing elements. Legends whispered by old fishermen in Vermilion City and etched into the walls of the Pokémon Mansion speak of a time when the world was young and volatile. From the heart of these tempests emerged the birds, not hatched from eggs, but forged as roaming spirits. Zapdos crackled into being amid raging electrical storms that lit the night skies like shattered stars. Articuno crystallized from blizzards that buried mountains in eternal winter. Her wings a cascade of shimmering ice, and Moltres, she burst forth from volcanic infernos, her flames dancing like the sun's own heartbeat. These spirits didn't settle in nests like ordinary birds. No, they wandered Kanto's wilds, embodying the balance of destruction and renewal. Zapdos channeled the raw power of electricity, striking down threats to keep the land charged and alive. Articuno brought the chill of preservation, freezing rivers to protect hidden groves from summer's scorch. Moltres ignited the fires of rebirth, her heat thawing the frozen earth and sparking new growth after harsh winters. Together, they roamed as a triad, unseen guardians ensuring no single element overwhelmed the others. Imagine the awe of ancient Kantonians, huddled in caves during gales, knowing these spirits were out there, taming the chaos that could have swallowed their world whole. But why do they roam so restlessly? It's because they're tied to the land's pulse, drawn to places where their essences echo strongest. And that's where their sacred perches come into play, hidden sanctuaries that call them back, time and again. Picture this: you're trekking through Kanto, your team battered from battles, and you stumble upon the power plant, that hulking relic on the outskirts of the region, its generators humming like a distant heartbeat. This isn't just a spot for grinding levels, it's Zapdos's domain, a sacred perch where the electric hum resonates with the bird's very soul. Lore from the game's hidden dialogues reveals how the plant was built on ancient grounds, soaked in lightning's fury. NPCs in the area mutter about the Guardian of Thunder, who once nested here, feeding on the surge of energy that mimics the storms of her birth. When you finally encounter Zapdos amid the sparking machinery, it's no accident, it's a homecoming. The air crackles with static, and you feel that pull, don't you? That sense of stepping into a legend alive and breathing. Zapdos doesn't just perch here, she recharges, her presence amplifying the plant's power until it borders on the divine. Trainers who dare approach speak of a thrill that courses through their veins, as if the bird shares a spark of her endless vitality. But the journey doesn't end with thunder. Venture north to the Seafoam Islands, those labyrinthine caves swallowed by the sea, where the chill seeps into your bones before you even step inside. This is Articuno's frozen realm, a perch carved from ice that defies the ocean's warmth. Deep within, past cascading waterfalls and echoing chambers, the air turns brittle and crystals form on your screen like breath on glass. Ancient tales pieced together from Cerulean City's gym whispers and the journals of explorers who never returned describe how Articuno claimed these depths as her sanctuary. The island's perpetual frost is her doing, a barrier against the heat that threatens to melt Kanto's delicate balance. When she glides into view, wings folding like glacial sheets, you can't help but shiver, not just from the cold, but from the weight of her gaze. She's the spirit of ice's quiet strength, preserving what fire and lightning might consume. Have you ever wondered why the waters here never fully thaw, even in the height of summer? It's Articuno's perch, a testament to her role as the unflinching sentinel of winter's embrace. And then there's the trial by fire, Victory Road, that grueling tunnel leading to the Pokémon League, where every step tests your resolve. But before the championship glory, this path was Moltres' fiery perch, a forge of flames hidden in the Earth's core. As you navigate the twisting caverns, the heat builds and embers dance in the shadows, subtle hints of the legend that awaits. In-game lore from the Indigo Plateau's elders paints a vivid picture. Long before badges were won here, warriors sought Moltres' blessing, enduring her trials to prove their worth. The Bird of Flame perches on a ledge overlooking molten rivers, her silhouette ablaze against the rock. She's not destructive for destruction's sake. Her fire renews, melting away the old to make way for the new. When you face her, the intensity hits you like a flamethrower. Sweat on your brow, heart pounding as if the cave itself is alive. This perch isn't just a battleground, it's the heart of Kanto's rebirth, where Moltres ensures the land rises stronger from every scar. Now hold on, because here's where the story takes a darker turn, one that lingers in the whispers of NPCs scattered across the region. These birds weren't always elusive roamers, forever just out of reach. Ancient accounts suggest they once maintained a perfect harmony, balancing Kanto's elements in a delicate dance. Zapdos's storms nourished the fields, Articuno's freezes protected the coasts, and Moltres' blazes cleared paths for growth. The land thrived under their watch, a symphony of power where no force dominated, but human ambition disrupted it all. As settlements expanded, the power plant's relentless hum began to mimic and steal Zapdos' essence, turning her sacred energy into fuel for machines. Seafoam's depths were probed for resources, awakening Articuno's wrath as her icy veil cracked under drills and dynamite. And Victory Road? It became a gauntlet for glory seekers, its fires twisted into a challenge rather than a rite of renewal. You can hear it in the voices of those forgotten characters, the old man in the power plant who sighs about the storm's rage growing wilder, or the shivering fisher near Seafoam who warns of ice that bites deeper each year. Even in Cerulean, a hidden trainer murmurs that the Flame Guardian flies farther now, seeking what we've taken. It's a subtle tragedy woven into the game's fabric. Our pursuit of progress shattered the balance these spirits upheld. Now they roam endlessly, their perches more like echoes than homes, driven by an unrest that mirrors our own intrusions. Doesn't that make you pause during your next playthrough? Every time you flip a switch or carve a path, you're brushing against a legend that's been wounded by time and ambition. But let's dive deeper into what this means for Kanto's soul. Take Zapdos, for instance. Her origins as a lightning spirit aren't just poetic, they're tied to the region's very geography. Kanto's eastern shores, battered by constant gales, were once her playground, where she'd summon bolts to ward off invaders from the sea. The power plant, built atop those storm-scarred cliffs, was meant to honour her, or so the lore implies in fragmented notes from the Cinnabar mansion. Yet as the hum grew louder, Zapdos' flights became erratic, her strikes less protective and more vengeful. You've felt it, haven't you? That random encounter on Route 10, where thunder rumbles out of nowhere, it's her cry for the balance lost. Articuno's tale pulls at the heartstrings even more. Born from the primordial blizzards that sculpted Kanto's northern peaks, she was the guardian of life's quiet pauses. Seafoam Islands weren't always half submerged. Legends say her ice held back the tides, creating safe havens for Pokémon to rest. But mining expeditions in the game's backstory, hinted at by future Safari Zone guides, chipped away at her domain. Now when she perches in those depths, it's with a sorrowful grace, her wings shedding flakes that melt too quickly in a warming world. The twist hits hard. What if her eternal cold is less about power and more about mourning the harmony humans shattered? Moltres brings the heat, literally. Her flame spirit arose from the volcanoes that dotted Kanto's underbelly, eruptions that fertilized the soil for generations. Victory Road's trials were her gift to the worthy, a path of purification. Yet as trainers flocked to the League, seeking fame over wisdom, the fires turned fierce. An NPC in the rock tunnel once let slip that the phoenix flies south now, away from our greed, suggesting Moltres seeks new perches beyond our reach. It's a reminder that these birds aren't villains in the storm. They're the storm's conscience, disrupted by our endless quest for more. As you piece this together, you start to see Kanto not as a starting point, but as a cautionary tale. The legendary bird's origins as roaming spirits remind us of nature's fragility, their perches as anchors in a world pulling them adrift. And that twist, it's the game's quiet indictment of ambition run amok. What happens when the Guardians no longer recognize their home? The answer lies in their restless flights, a call we ignore at our peril, but Kanto's legends don't end with these stormy skies. As we turn our gaze westward to Johto, prepare to uncover the mystery of Johto's twin towers of fate, ancient spires that birthed beasts from ashes and summoned a rainbow guardian who promises eternal happiness to those who dare climb. What secrets do these towers hold that could rival the bird's fury? Stick around, because the harmony and heartbreak deepens from here. Wait, that's just the spark. Let's explore how these origins influence the bird's behaviours in the games you know so well. Zapdos, with her electric hum, isn't random in her appearances. She's drawn to power sources like the plant because they echo her birthstorms. In Red and Blue, catching her feels like harnessing a force of nature. But in later remakes like Fire Red, the animations show her struggling against the pull, feathers sparking unnaturally. It's as if the game itself nods to that disrupted balance, making every Master Ball toss a moment of unintended capture. Articuno's perch in Seafoam adds layers of puzzle-solving lore. Those boulders you push? They're remnants of her icy barriers, designed by ancient peoples to honour her. Fail to navigate them, and you're lost in the freeze, mirroring how human meddling leads to isolation. Researchers in the anime echo this, portraying her as a protector whose sleep is disturbed by pollution, tying back to those NPC whispers about ambition's cost. Moltres seals the elemental trio with Rabirth's promise. Victory Road's heat mirages, subtle illusions from her flames, testing if you're worthy or just another intruder. Post-game encounters in Gold and Silver show her migrating, hinting at a Kanto-Johto connection we'll unpack later. But for now, it's clear her trials were meant to forge heroes, not fame chasers. This foundation of origins and perches builds a richer Kanto, where every storm cloud hides a story. The bird's roaming isn't freedom, it's exile from a balance we broke. And as their spirits wander, so does our curiosity, to Johto's towers, where fate twists in ways that will leave you breathless. Johto's twin towers of fate. In the heart of Johto lies Ecruteak City, a place where the echoes of ancient rituals still linger in the misty air, drawing trainers like you into its shadowed streets. You've journeyed through Kanto's rugged peaks and stormy seas, uncovering legends of meteors and wandering spirits. But now, as we cross into Johto, the landscape shifts to something more profound, more haunting. Here, two towering spires stand as eternal sentinels. The Brass Tower and the Bell Tower, twin pillars that embody the fragile dance between harmony and profound loss. These aren't just landmarks on your map. They're the beating heart of Johto's oldest myths, whispering tales of guardians who once kept the world in balance, only to see it shattered by flames that no mortal could quench. Picture yourself arriving in Ecruteak at dusk, the city's traditional architecture glowing under lantern light, the air thick with the scent of incense from nearby shrines. This isn't a bustling metropolis like Goldenrod, it's a crossroads of history where performers in the dance theatre reenact stories passed down through generations, and the faint toll of bells reminds everyone of what's been lost. The Brass Tower, with its weathered bronze facade, rises defiantly on the city's western edge, while the Bell Tower, sleek and silver, watches from the east. Built centuries ago by Johto's ancient kings, these towers were meant to symbolize unity, a bridge between the human world and the divine. One for the seas, one for the skies, they call to legendary beings who could calm storms or summon rains, ensuring the land's prosperity. But harmony, as you'll soon discover, is fleeting in the Pokémon world, and loss casts a long shadow over Ecruteak's legacy. Let's start with the Brass Tower, because its story is the one that grips you first, pulling you into the depths of tragedy. Long before the flames, this tower was no ordinary structure. It was a sanctuary, a place of rest for Lugia, the diving Pokémon, guardian of the seas. You know Lugia from your own adventures, perhaps glimpsed in the Whirl Islands or summoned in dreams of psychic power. But in Johto's lore, Lugia wasn't just a fleeting vision. The ancient texts describe it as a colossal, silver-winged behemoth, its body rippling like ocean waves, capable of unleashing tempests, with a single flap or diving into the abyss to protect the deep currents from chaos. The brass tower was built specifically for Lugia, its foundations anchored in the earth near the coast, so the Guardian could perch high above, surveying the waves and ensuring no unnatural disasters threatened Johto's shores. Why Lugia? Because the seas are Johto's lifeblood. Think about it. The region is surrounded by water, from the swirling vortices of Route 40 to the hidden grottos where Wingull nest. Without a protector, those waters could turn deadly, flooding villages or swallowing ships whole. The monks who tended the tower believed Lugia chose it as its roost during times of peace, nesting in the upper chambers where the air hummed with its psychic energy. Legends say that on clear nights, sailors far out at sea could see a faint glow emanating from the tower's peak, Lugia's presence warding off krakens or rogue Gyarados. You might recall, if you've explored the ruins yourself, how the tower's interior feels alive, with murals depicting Lugia coiled around the structure like a serpent god, its eyes piercing the darkness. It was a symbol of stability, a promise that as long as Lugia rested there, the seas would remain calm and Johto would thrive. But what happens when that promise breaks? That's where the loss creeps in, turning the brass tower from a beacon of hope into a monument of sorrow. One fateful night, disaster struck without warning. A massive fire erupted within the tower's core, flames that burned hotter and fiercer than any natural blaze. The inferno wasn't caused by lightning or careless travellers. No, the tales whispered by Ecruteak's elders point to something far more ominous, a cataclysm that seemed almost willed by the heavens themselves. The fire raged unchecked, consuming wooden beams reinforced with ancient alloys, sending plumes of smoke so thick it blotted out the moon. For 3 full days and nights, the brass tower burned, its silhouette a hellish torch against the Johto skyline. Imagine the scene. Villagers gathered at the base, helpless, as the heat warped the very air, and the crackle of flames drowned out their prayers. The monks of Ecruteak have preserved the oral history of that night with chilling detail. They say the fire began in the heart of the tower, right where Lugia was said to slumber, as if the Guardian itself had been roused to fury. One elder monk recounts how the blaze didn't spread like ordinary fire. It leapt from level to level with unnatural precision, devouring relics and scrolls that held the secrets of sea rituals. For those 3 endless days, the tower stood unyielding, its brass exterior glowing red-hot, yet refusing to collapse. Water from nearby wells evaporated before it could touch the flames, and winds that should have fanned the fire outward instead seemed to feed it inward, like a living entity punishing the land. The monks interpreted this as divine wrath unleashed, a retribution from Lugia, or perhaps the seas themselves for some forgotten sin. Maybe humanity's growing hubris, encroaching on sacred waters with their expanding ports and fishing fleets. You can feel the weight of that loss, even today, wandering the charred remnants. The tower's lower floors are accessible now, a labyrinth of soot-streaked walls and collapsed stairways, where you might battle wild Pokémon drawn to the residual energy. But climb higher if you dare, and the air grows heavy, charged with an otherworldly silence. Lugia never returned after the fire. It vanished into the depths, leaving the seas a little wilder, a little less tamed. Some trainers speculate that the destruction was a warning, a reminder that even the mightiest guardians have limits, and tampering with their domains invites catastrophe. Is it any wonder that Ecruteak feels haunted? The brass tower stands as a scar on the landscape, its twin across the city a poignant counterpoint, suggesting that for every loss, there might be a path to restoration, but not without cost. Delving deeper into the lore, the monks' tales reveal layers that make your skin prickle. They speak of omens before the fire, schools of Magikarp beaching themselves en masse, Sudowoodo weeping sap like tears, and a perpetual fog rolling in from the sea that carried whispers of unrest. One particularly vivid account comes from a monk who survived the blaze, claiming he saw ethereal wings silhouetted against the flames before Lugia fled. Was it abandoning Johto or fleeing a greater threat? The divine wrath hinted at in these stories isn't just poetic, it's tied to the balance of nature. Lugia, as the guardian of the seas, embodied the raw power of tides and storms, and its disturbance could ripple outward, affecting everything from the migration of Lapras to the stability of Olivine City's lighthouse. In the games, you'll hear NPCs murmur about how the tower's fall marked the end of an era when humans and legends coexisted more closely, before the world grew too crowded with Pokeballs and badges. And yet, amidst this devastation, the Brass Tower's story isn't one of total despair. It teaches you something essential about Johto's spirit: resilience. The people of Ecruteak rebuilt what they could, turning the ruins into a place of reflection, where trainers meditate on the impermanence of power. If you've ever stood at the tower's base during a Pokémon League pilgrimage, you might have felt that pull, that urge to understand why such a guardian would leave. It's a question that lingers, fueling quests to the Whirl Islands or beyond, searching for signs of Lugia's return. The tower's loss mirrors Johto's own history of division and reunion, from the warring clans of old to the modern bonds you forge with your team. But harmony, as the twins suggest, requires both. Towers to stand, one for the depths, one for the heights, and when one falls, the other must bear the burden alone. As we reflect on the Brass Tower's fiery legacy, you can't help but turn your gaze eastward to its counterpart, the Bell Tower, standing tall and unscarred. It's a symbol of what could have been, a place where the winds carry chimes of hope rather than ash. But the full tale of resurrection and eternal happiness that blooms from this tragedy. That's a revelation waiting just ahead, one that will transform how you see loss as the seed of something miraculous. Stick with me as we uncover it in the next chapter. Resurrection and eternal happiness. In the heart of Johto, where ancient spires reach toward the heavens like silent prayers, a tragedy unfolded that would echo through generations. The Brass Tower, once a majestic beacon in Ecruteak City, stood as a sanctuary for the guardian of the seas, Lugia. But fire consumed it, raging for 3 unrelenting days, according to the monks who still whisper the tale today. From those ashes rose not despair, but a miracle of rebirth, one that binds the region in a tapestry of resurrection and the elusive promise of eternal joy. You know how legends in Pokémon often carry that weight of mystery, don't you? They pull you in, making you wonder what truths lie beneath the surface. Well, this one starts with Ho-Oh, the radiant phoenix of the skies, a Pokémon so divine it's said to appear only to those pure of heart. Ho-Oh isn't just a bird of fire and flight, it's a symbol of renewal, a force that turns loss into legend. And right here, in Johto's spiritual core, it performs its most profound act, resurrecting 3 ordinary Pokémon from the brink of oblivion, transforming them into the legendary beasts, Entei, Raikou and Suicune. Picture the scene, though I know you're already envisioning it. The Brass Tower burns, its wooden beams cracking under flames that seem almost alive, hungry. Inside, 3 Pokémon, unnamed in the oldest scrolls, but humble beasts caught in the blaze, perish amid the inferno. Their spirits linger, trapped in the smoke and sorrow. But Ho-Oh descends, wings ablaze with rainbow hues, and with a cry that shakes the earth, it channels the essence of life itself. From the ruins, Entei erupts first, a volcano of fury incarnate, its mane a cascade of molten rock, embodying the fire that took their lives but now fuels their immortality. Then Raikou, streaking like bottled lightning, its body crackling with electric vengeance, a storm given form to chase away the darkness. And finally, Suicune, graceful and serene, with fur like rippling water, purifying the tainted air and restoring balance where chaos reigned. This isn't just a story from some dusty game manual, it's woven into Johto's very soul. The elders in Ecruteak speak of it during festivals, their voices low and reverent, as if the beasts might hear and roam closer. Ho-Oh's resurrection isn't random, it's a deliberate act of compassion, a phoenix's gift to prove that even in death there's a spark waiting to ignite. These 3, once lost, now embody the elements that destroyed them: fire, thunder, and the cleansing storm. They become guardians, eternal wanderers, ensuring Johto never forgets the fragility of peace. But why does this matter to you, the trainer, piecing together these ancient puzzles? Because it taps into something deeper in Johto's traditions, a belief that revival isn't the end of the story, but the beginning of something profound. The bell tower, Ho-Oh's own perch across from the ruined brass tower, stands as a testament to this. It's no ordinary structure. Monks climb its heights in rituals passed down for centuries, ringing bells that are said to call the rainbow bird. And at the tower's summit, an elder guards the law, sharing a promise that has lured seekers from across the seas. Those who witness Ho-Oh are granted eternal happiness. Let's unpack that promise, because it's not as straightforward as it sounds. The Bell Tower Elder, with eyes weathered by years of vigil, tells you directly in the game. It's a moment that sticks with you, right? He says that Ho-Oh's appearance is a blessing, a sign from the divine that your spirit is aligned with the world's harmony. In Johto's spiritual traditions, happiness isn't fleeting joy. It's a state of wholeness, free from the cycles of suffering that plague the living. Seeing Ho-Oh means you've touched the eternal, glimpsing the rainbow bridge it creates, a path to the afterlife where souls find rest. It's tied to Shinto-inspired roots in the Pokémon world, where nature's spirits reward purity. Imagine hiking those misty Johto trails, heart pounding, and suddenly a flash of colour in the sky, eternal happiness, sealed in that instant. Yet Johto's elders don't stop at bliss. They layer in the weight of responsibility. This happiness comes with a quiet warning. Cherish it, for the beasts it revived roam without end. Their resurrection, a double-edged gift. Here's where the twist hits hard. The endless wandering of Entei, Raikou, and Suicune isn't freedom. It's a curse disguised as purpose. Revived by Ho-Oh, they can't settle, can't find the peace they once knew. Entei thunders across volcanoes, forever chasing the warmth it lost in the fire. Raikou darts through storms, its speed a frantic bid to outrun the lightning that birthed it. Suicune glides over rivers and plains, seeking purity in a world forever scarred. They're immortal, yes, but doomed to solitude, guardians who protect Johto but can never call it home. You feel that irony, don't you? It's what makes this legend so haunting. In interviews with Game Freak developers, they've hinted at this duality, resurrection as both salvation and eternal unrest. Players who've chased these beasts in heart gold and soul silver know the frustration. They're always one step ahead, evading capture like ghosts of their former selves. It's as if Ho-Oh gave them life to atone for the world's cruelty, but in doing so, bound them to an unending quest. The spiritual traditions of Johto amplify this. Festivals at Ecruteak honour the beasts with dances mimicking their roams, reminding everyone that true happiness requires accepting impermanence. The Elders promise? It's real, but it demands you understand the cost. The beast's curse mirrors our own restless hearts, forever pursuing what slipped away. Diving deeper, consider how this resurrection ties into Johto's broader mythology. The region is a land of duality. Burned tower and bell tower, destruction and rebirth, Lugia in the depths and Ho-Oh in the heights. The three beasts aren't just powerful, they're emotional anchors. Entei represents unyielding passion, the fire that warms or destroys. Raikou, raw energy, the spark of innovation that electrifies progress. Suicune, calm resilience, the flow that heals wounds time can't touch. Trainers who bond with them in battles feel that connection. A Pokémon that embodies revival can pull you from your own defeats. And the promise of eternal happiness? It's not some vague fairy tale. In the anime, Ash glimpses Ho-Oh early on, and it marks his journey's turning point. A beacon of hope amid losses. Fans speculate it's why Johto feels so spiritually charged. Every shrine, every monk's chant builds toward that sighting, but the twist lingers. If the beast's roaming is their curse, what does it say about us? Are we too revived spirits chasing elusive peace? The Elder doesn't answer directly. He just smiles and points to the horizon, where the beasts might appear. This layer of complexity keeps you coming back to Johto, replaying games to track those elusive legends. Remember the radio signals in gold and silver, crackling with hints of Raikou's path? Or Suicune's crystal-like trail in Crystal? It's designed to make you feel the chase, the curse firsthand. Spiritual traditions here aren't background flavour, they're the pulse. Monks meditate on the tower's alignment, believing the bells harmonise, the elements the beasts represent. Sightings of Ho-Oh, rare as they are, spark pilgrimages. Trainers share stories online of glitches or mods that let them witness it, chasing that promised bliss. But let's not gloss over the darker undertones. The resurrection came from tragedy. The brass tower's fire wasn't natural, some say, perhaps a human folly, a lightning strike gone wrong. Ho-Oh's act was mercy, but it left scars. The beasts avoid Ecruteak, as if the memory repels them. They're roaming a perpetual exile. Eternal happiness, then, isn't guaranteed. It's earned through understanding loss. The Elder's words challenge you, prove your worth, and the rainbow will appear. In Johto's temples, you'll find murals depicting this, faded paints showing the phoenix amid flames, three shadows rising, forever in motion. You might wonder, how does this fit the bigger picture of Pokémon legends? It sets Johto apart, emphasizing cycles over conquest. Unlike raw power clashes elsewhere, here it's about harmony restored through sacrifice. The beast's curse adds tragedy, making their power bittersweet. Fans debate it endlessly. Is there roaming punishment for dying in the fire, or a noble duty? Either way, it deepens the emotional pull. Catching one feels like granting them a moment's rest. As we wrap this chapter on resurrection and eternal happiness, think about what Ho-Oh teaches us. Life renews, but peace is a pursuit. The beasts roam on, guardians in the shadows, while the promise waits for those who seek it truly. And speaking of pursuits that shake the world, up next in Hoenn's primordial rage, you'll discover how two titans of land and sea unleash chaos that threatens everything. A fury so ancient, It could drown regions in endless conflict. What happens when gods collide? You won't want to miss it. Hoenn's primordial rage. Deep within the shadowy depths of Granite Cave lies a secret that has slumbered for eons, etched into the very stone by hands long turned to dust. These ancient murals aren't just decorations. They're a chilling chronicle of Hoenn's most terrifying legend, the primal rage between two titans that could have wiped the world clean. What if I told you that the land you explore in Hoenn, with its lush roots and bustling cities, was born from chaos so immense it nearly ended everything? Let's step into that cave together and uncover the story carved there. Picture yourself squeezing through the narrow passages of Granite Cave, your flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, like a Zubat's supersonic screech. The air grows cooler, damper, as you venture deeper, past the echoing drips of water and the faint skitter of wild Pokémon. Then you find it, a hidden chamber, walls adorned with faded pigments that seem to pulse with an otherworldly energy. These murals, discovered by explorers centuries ago, depict scenes of cataclysmic fury. At the centre, towering figures clash in eternal battle. On one side, a colossal beast with crimson scales and molten eyes, its body a mountain of raw earth and fire. That's Groudon, the subterranean creator, embodiment of the land itself. Opposite it, a serpentine leviathan of azure fury, waves crashing from its fins, eyes like storm-tossed seas. Kyogre, the sea basin Pokémon, ruler of the oceans. The artwork doesn't hold back. You see Groudon rising from the Earth's core, its every step cracking continents, volcanoes erupting in its wake as it expands the land with unstoppable force. But Kyogre counters with tidal wrath, summoning tsunamis that swallow shores whole, drowning the newborn Earth in relentless floods. The murals show their clashes, ripping Hoenn apart, rivers boiling into steam, forests incinerated to ash, skies choked with thunder and flame. It's not abstract. The artists captured the horror in visceral detail. Pokémon fleeing in panic, tiny figures dwarfed by the giant's rage, their world fracturing under the weight of this primal feud. Historians believe these carvings date back thousands of years, predating even the earliest human settlements in Hoenn. They weren't made for beauty. They were warnings etched by survivors who witnessed the end of an age. But why this endless war? The murals hint at something deeper, a fundamental opposition baked into Hoenn's soul. Groudon craves expansion, pushing the land to grow, to dominate. Kyogre seeks balance through submersion, ensuring the seas reclaim what the earth devours. Their battles aren't random. They're the heartbeat of creation itself, a cycle where destruction paves the way for rebirth. Think about it. You're hiking through Dewford Town's beaches or scaling Rusturf Tunnel, oblivious to how every grain of sand, every root cracking through soil, stems from this ancient tug of war. Without their rage, Hoenn might not exist as we know it, yet that same rage threatens to unravel it all over again. Now let's pull back from the cave and head to Sootopolis City, that crystalline jewel perched on a volcanic crater, where the lore of these titans takes on even more urgency. The elders there, guardians of the city's sacred pool, pass down stories whispered around flickering lanterns. According to Sootopolis legend, long before the gym leaders, or the contests, Groudon and Kyogre awoke from their slumbers in a time of great imbalance. The land had overgrown, encroaching on the seas, starving the oceans of space. Kyogre rose first, its cry a hurricane that flooded the coasts, turning verdant fields into submerged ruins. Villages vanished overnight, Pokémon swept away in currents strong enough to shatter boulders. But Groudon wouldn't yield. It burst forth from its chimney, scorching the waves to vapour, igniting droughts that cracked the earth like brittle glass. The battles escalated, you see. Sootopolis lore describes how their clashes scorched the land black, wildfires raging unchecked as Groudon's heat baked the soil to sterility. Then Kyogre retaliated, drowning those flames in deluges that poisoned the rivers, leaving nothing but barren mudflats where life once thrived. The air filled with steam and ash, blocking the sun for months. Pokémon starved, herds migrating in vain search of untouched territory. Humans huddled in caves, ironic, isn't it? Much like the one we just explored, praying for the storm to end. The tales speak of a near-extinction event, where the world's population dwindled to whispers. Only the hardiest survived, like the ancient Aran lines that fed on the metallic remnants of the chaos, or the Wingull flocks that rode the perpetual gales. What makes this lore so gripping is the personal touch the Sootopolis storytellers add. They say the elders' ancestors etched prayers into the city's walls, begging the titans to cease. One account, preserved in a weathered scroll from the city's archive, recounts a day when the sky split open, half blazing red, half drowning blue, and the ground trembled so violently that Sootopolis' crater nearly collapsed into the sea. Life hung by a thread. Forests that once teemed with Tropius and Executor withered to skeletons. Coral reefs, vibrant homes to Tentacool and Clamperl, were boiled away or buried under landslides. The cycle of flooding and scorching repeated, each clash more devastating, pushing Hoenn to the brink. It wasn't just destruction, it was erasure, a rage so primordial that it challenged the very idea of survival. You have to wonder, as you stand by Sootopolis' tranquil pool today, how such peace could follow such apocalypse. The answer lies in understanding this primal conflict, not as mindless violence, but as Hoenn's eternal dance between sea and earth. Groudon and Kyogre aren't villains. They're forces of nature, creators locked in opposition. The land rises, the sea reclaims. It's a cycle that births islands from volcanoes and carves bays from erosion. Every route you traverse, from the sandy shores of Route 109 to the rugged peaks of Route 120, bears their mark. The murals in Granite Cave show the destruction, but the Sootopolis tales reveal the renewal. After the floods recede, fertile silt enriches the soil. After the scorches fade, new growth sprouts from the ashes. It's terrifying, yes, but poetic too, a reminder that Hoenn's beauty is forged in fire and water. Delve deeper into the lore, and you'll find echoes in everyday Hoenn life. Fishermen in slate ports swear by charms to appease Kyogre before setting sail, fearing a sudden squall that could mimic those ancient floods. Miners in the Meteor Falls region speak of Groudon's dormant fury, rumbling through the tunnels, causing cave-ins that mirror the Earth's expansionist drive. Even the Pokémon themselves seem attuned to it. Ground types like Donphan thrive in the post-scorched landscapes, their herds ploughing furrows that invite the rains. Water types, from the majestic Milotic gliding through Sootopolis' waters to the playful Azurill splashing in puddles, embody the sea's resilient return. It's as if the region is alive with this cycle, every battle in the wild a microcosm of the Titans' war. But let's not romanticize it too much. The Sootopolis elders warn that awakening these beasts could reignite the rage. Imagine a modern twist. What if Team Magma or Aqua, in their misguided quests, stirred the slumbering giants? The lore doesn't shy from the consequences, near total annihilation. One elder's tale describes a red sky dawn, where Groudon's heat melted ice caps, only for Kyogre's waves to freeze them mid-fall, creating jagged barriers that isolated communities for generations. Survivors adapted, forming the first bonds with Pokémon not as companions, but as lifelines. A Camerupt's warmth against the chill floods, a Sharpedo's strength to navigate debris-choked waters. These stories aren't just history, they're survival manuals, teaching that harmony comes from respecting the cycle, not dominating it. As you explore Hoenn further, this primal rage colours everything. The Devon Corporation's tech, powering Pokeballs and gadgets, draws inspiration from containing such elemental forces. The contests in Lily Cove? They're celebrations of balance, performers channeling water and earth in harmonious displays. Even the weather patterns, the sudden downpours on Route 118 or the heat waves near Lava Ridge, feel like faint echoes of the Titan's moods. You can't escape it. It's woven into the fabric of the region, and that's what makes Hoenn's legend so compelling. It's not a distant myth. It's the ground beneath your feet, the waves lapping at your shores. Yet for all the destruction they've wrought, Groudon and Kyogre's cycle needs a mediator, a force to halt the spiral when it threatens to consume all. That's where the true turning point lies, a descent from the heavens that quelled the primordial rage and restored fragile peace. But how did one being achieve what no other could? Stick around for the next chapter, the Sky Dragon's Descent, where we'll uncover the epic intervention that saved Hoenn from itself and changed the course of its legends forever. You won't want to miss how this Guardian rewrote the rules of creation. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. The Sky Dragon's Descent. In the heart of Hoenn, where the land and sea have clashed for eons, stands a forgotten monument that holds the key to preventing total catastrophe. Sky Pillar, a towering relic shrouded in mist and mystery, isn't just a place. It's the throne from which a legendary guardian watches over the balance of the world. You've journeyed through Kanto's starry caves and Johto's burning towers, but now, as we turn to Hoenn's primal struggles, prepare to witness how one dragon's arrival turned the tide of destruction. Picture the ancient murals etched into the walls of Granite Cave, those dimly lit passages where explorers still whisper about the old wars. They depict a time when the earth itself rebelled, when Groudon, the continent maker, rose from the depths to expand the land, scorching everything in its path. Its raw power cracked mountains and boiled rivers dry, turning fertile valleys into barren wastelands. But Groudon wasn't alone in its fury. From the ocean surged Kyogre, the sea basin creator, unleashing torrents that swallowed islands whole and drowned civilizations in endless floods. These weren't mere battles, they were forces of nature, tearing Hoenn apart, piece by piece. The people of that era, huddled in what would become Sootopolis City, watched as the sky darkened and the ground trembled, their world on the brink of annihilation. You can almost hear the panic in the ancient texts. From Sootopolis, where elders passed down tales of skies filled with thunderous roars and waves that reached the heavens. The conflict between these titans wasn't born of malice, but of instinct, Groudon craving endless expansion, Kyogre demanding boundless depths. Their primal forms, awakened by some forgotten ritual or natural cataclysm, amplified their rage, making the land heave and the seas rage like never before. Villages vanished overnight, forests were uprooted, and the very air grew thick with the scent of salt and ash. How could anyone survive such chaos? The answer lies not in human strength, but in the intervention of a being that commands the skies themselves. That's where Rayquaza enters the legend, the Sky Dragon, whose very name evokes the rush of wind through storm clouds. Perched high above the fray at Sky Pillar, this serpentine guardian had slumbered for ages, its emerald scales blending with the ozone layer it calls home. But as the Titans' War escalated, threatening to submerge or bury Hoenn entirely, Rayquaza stirred. Descending from the stratosphere in a blaze of azure light, it coiled around the pillar's summit, its eyes glowing with the fury of 1,000 tempests. This wasn't a gentle arrival. It was a declaration of order, a force that silenced the quaking earth and the crashing waves below. Let me take you deeper into this moment, because the lore doesn't just stop at the descent, it's alive with details that make your heart race. Imagine the wind howling as Rayquaza's massive wings unfurl, casting shadows over the battling behemoths. Groudon charges forward, its magma veins pulsing red-hot, while Kyogre summons a tidal wave, taller than any mountain. But Rayquaza, drawing on the pure energy of the atmosphere, dives between them, its body a living barrier of scales tougher than diamond. In the old stories, it's said that the dragon's roar alone parted the floods and cooled the lava flows, forcing the Titans to confront the imbalance they'd created. Without Rayquaza, Hoenn might have become a fractured relic, lost to the ages like so many forgotten continents. Now, to truly capture the essence of this tale, we turn to Wallace, the enigmatic gym leader of Sutopolis, whose voice carries the weight of generations. In the games, he stands before the Cave of Origin, recounting the legend with a poetic grace that chills and inspires. He speaks of Rayquaza as the mediator of the skies, the one who calmed the two Titans and restored the world to its original shape. But Wallace doesn't shy away from the drama. He describes how Rayquaza, sensing the primal reversion of Groudon and Kyogre, had to push beyond its own limits. That's right. In the heat of the conflict, the Sky Dragon mega evolves, its form elongating into something even more majestic, a delta stream enveloping the battlefield in protective winds. Think about that for a second. Mega Rayquaza isn't just a power-up, it's the ultimate enforcer of peace. Wallace paints it vividly. The dragon's horns sharpen, its body surges with draconic energy, and suddenly the air pressure shifts, desaturating the colours around it, as if the world itself bows to its will. This megaform doesn't destroy the Titans, it subdues them, wrapping around their massive bodies and channeling the harmony of the ozone back into their primal hearts. Groudon retreats to its volcanic lair, its expansion halted. Kyogre sinks into the abyssal trenches, its floods receding. The land and sea find equilibrium once more, with Hoenn's diverse biomes, its rainforests, coral reefs and misty peaks emerging as a testament to restored balance. Wallace's words linger like a promise. Only by understanding this legend can we hope to prevent such wars from reigniting. But here's where the story takes a darker turn, one that lingers in the shadows of Sky Pillar's ruins. As you climb those crumbling steps today, flashlight in hand, you'll find inscriptions carved into the weathered stone, warnings etched by the survivors of that ancient era. These aren't mere decorations, they're prophecies, foretelling that if harmony falters again, if humans meddle too deeply with the Titan's slumber, the awakenings will return. The carvings speak of cycles unbroken, hinting at future conflicts where Rayquaza might not descend in time, or worse, where the dragon itself could be drawn into the fray. One inscription, faded but legible, reads of a third awakening, when the skies themselves might crack under the strain. It's a sobering reminder that Hoenn's peace is fragile, guarded by legends that demand respect. Delve deeper into these ruins, and you'll uncover layers of history that connect the dots across the region. Sky Pillar wasn't built in a day. It's said to predate even the Devon Corporation's modern tech, constructed by a civilization that revered the weather as divine will. The pillar's spiral design mimics Rayquaza's coiled form, with each level representing a stage of the dragon's vigilance, from watchful slumber to thunderous intervention. Explorers in the games often speak of eerie winds that guide or repel climbers, as if the site itself tests your worthiness. And tying back to those granite cave murals, the artwork there shows Rayquaza not as a conqueror, but as a judge, its gaze piercing the chaos to restore what was lost. What makes this legend so gripping is how it mirrors Hoenn's geography. The region is a patchwork of extremes: arid deserts in the west, humid jungles in the east, volcanic peaks and submerged routes everywhere in between. Groudon and Kyogre embody those forces, but Rayquaza, it's the unseen thread holding it all together, patrolling the jet streams and ensuring no single element dominates. In Sotopolis, where the city's legendary gym overlooks a crystalline lake, locals still perform rituals to honour this balance, offerings of blue and red orbs, symbols of the Titan's power, placed at altars that echo Wallace's. Tales, you can feel the reverence in the air, a quiet acknowledgement that without the Sky Dragon, their home would be underwater or buried. Let's expand on Wallace's recounting, because his version isn't just a bedtime story, it's a call to action. He describes the Mega Evolution as a moment of transcendence, where Rayquaza absorbs the essence of the storm itself, its body glowing with the aurora of the upper atmosphere. In that form, it doesn't just stop the fight, it enforces a truce that binds the Titans to their roles. Groudon shapes the land, but doesn't overrun it. Kyogre fills the seas, but doesn't flood them. The peace isn't temporary, it's woven into the fabric of Hoenn, with Rayquaza returning to its perch, ever vigilant. Wallace warns that seeking the orbs to awaken the Titans is folly, for only those who understand the legend can wield such power without inviting doom. And those inscriptions? They're more than warnings, they're a chronicle of near misses. One faded panel illustrates a lesser conflict, perhaps centuries later, where unchecked logging or overfishing tipped the scales, summoning minor quakes and storms. Rayquaza's shadow appears faintly, a subtle reminder that harmony must be maintained. Researchers today, poring over these ruins, debate their authenticity, but the consistency across Hoenn's lore, from Route 131's foggy seas to Meteor Falls' cascading waters, lends them credibility. It's as if the pillar itself breathes the dragon's legacy, its stones humming with latent energy on stormy nights. You might wonder, in a world of trainers and battles, why does this matter? Because Hoenn's legends aren't relics, they're alive, influencing everything from gym challenges to the Elite Four's trials. Stephen Stone, with his Steelix at his side, often references the pillar in his speeches about protecting ancient sites, tying human progress to natural balance. Even in the remakes like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the story evolves, showing how modern threats could echo the ancient wars. Rayquaza's descent isn't just history, it's a blueprint for coexistence, a tale that urges you to tread lightly on the world's fragile edges. As we wrap up this chapter on the Sky Dragon's pivotal role, consider how one being's intervention saved a region from itself. The murals, the legends, the warnings, they all point to a truth. Peace in Hoenn hangs by the thinnest of threads, guarded by a dragon that demands our harmony. But if the Titans' War feels like a distant myth, hold that thought, because up next in Sinnoh's Creation Forge, we'll uncover how time and space themselves were forged from chaos, birthing gods that could unravel reality with a single step. What secrets does Spear Pillar hide, and how does it connect to the distortions lurking beyond our world? You won't want to miss it. Sinnoh's Creation. Forge in the heart of Sinnoh, where the winds whisper through ironclad spires and the earth hums with primordial power, lies a legend that binds the very threads of existence. What if I told you that this region wasn't just forged by volcanoes or seas, but by beings who commanded time itself and bent space to their will? Welcome to the story of Sinnoh's Creation Forge, where myths etched in stone reveal how the world was born from chaos and order. Let's set off on a journey that takes us straight to the source of these ancient tales. Picture yourself boarding a ferry across the misty waters of the Sinnoh coastline, the salty air filling your lungs as the vessel cuts toward a quiet coastal town. Canalave city emerges on the horizon, its bridges arching like skeletal ribs over the canal, and at its core stands the Canalave Library, a towering repository of forgotten knowledge, its shelves groaning under the weight of scrolls and tomes that predate even the oldest trainers' guilds. You push open those heavy oak doors, the scent of aged paper and ink assaulting your senses, and there in the dim glow of lantern light, you find the Sinnoh myths. These aren't just stories, they're the foundational blueprints of reality, passed down through generations of scholars and seers. As you leaf through the brittle pages, the first revelation hits like a thunderclap. At the dawn of everything, when the universe was a swirling void of nothingness, two colossal entities emerged to impose structure on the formless. Dialga, the temporal Pokémon, rose as the absolute ruler of time. Born from the essence of eternity, its body gleams like polished steel, a perpetual machine of ticking seconds and endless cycles. The myths describe how Dialga's roar could accelerate the flow of moments, turning eons into heartbeats, or freeze them in stasis, holding the world in an unbreakable grip. Imagine the power, rivers pausing mid-flow, stars halting their dance across the sky. Every Pokémon, from the tiniest Caterpie to the mightiest Empoleon, suspended in a single, eternal now. But Dialga didn't create time out of cruelty. It was the forge that hammered chaos into sequence, allowing life to unfold in predictable rhythms. Births, battles, evolutions, all owe their cadence to this guardian's unyielding command. You turn the page, your fingers trembling with anticipation, and there it is, the counterpart to Dialga's temporal dominion. Palkia, the spatial Pokémon, claims authority over the very dimensions that hold reality together. Its form twists like a pearl-coated leviathan, scales shimmering with the iridescence of warped light, capable of folding space like a map in the hands of a cartographer. The Sinnoh myths paint vivid scenes of Palkia's emergence. From the void, it stretched out invisible tendrils, pulling apart the emptiness to create vast expanses, continents rising from the depths, skies expanding to cradle the stars, pockets of reality blooming like flowers in the dark. One tale recounts how Palkia once compressed a raging storm into a mere droplet, scattering it across the seas to nourish the land, or how it tore open rifts to connect distant shores, birthing the roots that trainers like you would one day tread. Without Palkia's mastery, the world would collapse into a singularity, everything crushed into non-existence. Together, Dialga and Palkia weren't just creators, they were the architects of possibility, weaving time and space into a tapestry that allows Pokémon and humans to coexist, to dream, to fight, and to grow. But these myths don't stay confined to the library's dusty corners. They propel you northward, toward the pinnacle of Sinnoh's sacred sites. High above the clouds, piercing the veil between earth and ether, stands Spear Pillar. This isn't some ordinary ruin. It's the world's origin point, the very spot where creation myths say the forge of reality ignited. As you climb the jagged paths of Coronet, the air grows thinner, charged with an electric reverence that makes your skin prickle. The wind howls through fractured columns, and suddenly you're there, standing amid colossal pillars that thrust skyward like the spines of an ancient beast. Their surfaces etched with runes that seem to pulse with inner light. Look closely at those carvings, and you'll see the myths come alive before your eyes. The Spear Pillar isn't just stone, it's a living chronicle. Hieroglyphs depict Dialga's form, uncoiling from the primordial egg of existence, its claws etching the first timelines into the void, lines that snake across the pillars, like veins representing the flow of history from the Big Bang to the present day. Nearby, Palkia's motifs spiral outward, symbols of expansion that mimic the way space unfurls, creating the horizons you see stretching endlessly below. The myths claimed this pillar was the anvil upon which the duo hammered the world into shape, Dialga striking to set the rhythm of days and nights, Palkia moulding the raw material into mountains, oceans, and the hidden grottos where legendary Pokémon slumber. Touch the stone, and you can almost feel the vibrations of that ancient forging, the ground trembling as if echoing the steps of titans long past. What makes Spear Pillar so mesmerizing is how these carvings don't just tell, they evoke. Scholars in Canalave whisper that on certain moonlit nights, the runes glow, projecting holographic visions of creation, shadows of Dialga warping time around the pillars, making shadows dance backward, or Palkia's influence twisting the air into portals that glimpse distant regions. It's here that the Sinnoh people believe all Pokémon lineages began, Arceus, the original one, summoning Dialga and Palkia from its own essence to kickstart the cycle. You stand there, wind whipping your hair, and it hits you. Every gym battle you've won, every badge earned, every friendship forged with a Pokémon traces back to this point. The pillar isn't a relic, it's the heartbeat of Sinnoh, pulsing with the energy that birthed your entire adventure. As you descend from those heights, the myths deepen, hinting at shadows lurking beyond the light of creation. The Sinnoh myths, in their quieter passages, allude to a third force, a being cast out for its volatile nature, exiled to a realm that mirrors our own, but inverted in every way. Giratina, the renegade Pokémon, dwells in the Distortion World, a shadowy counterpart where gravity inverts, colours bleed into nightmares, and time loops in maddening fractals. The library's scribes describe it as the balance to Dialga and Palkia's harmony. While they built the ordered universe, Giratina embodies the chaos that was deemed too dangerous to contain. Banished through a tear in space-time at Spear Pillar itself, it slithers through distorted dimensions, its ghostly wings dragging echoes of what could have been, a world of endless upheaval, where evolutions reverse and alliances shatter. Yet the myths tease redemption. Giratina isn't purely malevolent, but a guardian of antimatter, ensuring that creation doesn't stagnate into lifeless perfection. You can't help but wonder, what if that exile ends? What horrors or wonders would spill from the Distortion World if the renegade returns? Delving deeper into these legends, consider how they ripple through Sinnoh's everyday lore. In the fishing hamlets near Canalave, elders spin yarns of fishermen who glimpsed Palkia's silhouette in the waves, their nets suddenly overflowing with schools of Magikarp from realms untold. Up in the snowy peaks near the pillar, miners unearth fossils that the myths say were preserved by Dialga's time freeze. Relics of Pokémon from eras when the land was still cooling from creation's fire. Even the lake guardians, Uxie, Mesprit and Azelf, tie into this forge, born from the same mythic egg, to safeguard knowledge, emotion and will, the building blocks that Dialga and Palkia wove into sentient life. It's a web of interconnected tales that makes Sinnoh feel alive. Every rustle of leaves or flicker of a star, a reminder of the forge's enduring spark. But let's pause and reflect on the human element here. The people of Sinnoh didn't just stumble upon these myths, they lived them. Ancient clans gathered at Spear Pillar for rituals, chanting invocations to Dialga to bless their harvests with timely growth, or to Palkia for safe travels across vast distances. One particularly gripping anecdote from the library's oral histories tells of a long-lost explorer who, during a blizzard on Metcoronet, invoked the creation duo and found time slowing just enough to carve a path to safety, his descendants still guarding the pillar's secrets today. You feel that pull, don't you? As if these legends invite you to become part of the story, to stand where creators once did, and ponder your place in the grand design. Expanding on Dialga's command, the myths elaborate on its dual nature. Not only does it govern the forward march of time, but it also holds the reins on regression, allowing glimpses into the past or echoes of futures yet to unfold. Trainers who've faced Dialga in battle describe a disorienting haze where moves land before they're even launched, or Pokémon age in reverse mid-fight. Palkia's dominion is equally profound. Its spatial prowess isn't limited to creation, but extends to protection, folding battlefields to shield allies or expand territories in an instant. These aren't abstract powers. They're the reason Sinnoh's landscapes feel so vast yet intimate. Every cave and crag a deliberate stroke from the forge. Spear Pillar's carvings offer even more layers when you study them under the right light. Some runes depict conflicts, early drafts of creation, where time and space clashed, birthing temporary anomalies like floating islands or eternal twilights, only resolved when the duo synchronized. It's a testament to the fragility of existence, how close we came to a world without structure. And as for Giratina's exile, the Distortion World isn't just punishment, it's a necessary counterweight. The myths suggest that without it, the universe would tip into stagnation, Dialga's clock running too smoothly, Palkia's spaces too rigid. Giratina's chaotic realm absorbs the excess, recycling it back into the forge for renewal. You start to see the poetry. Creation isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing dance of balance. Now as the sun dips low over Canalave's canals, and the library's lanterns flicker to life, these tales leave you with more questions than answers. The creation forge of Sinnoh isn't just history, it's a living warning and promise, etched into the pillars that touch the stars. But shadows linger at the edges of this grand origin, whispers of what happens when the forge's light dims and darker forces stir. Up next, in Shadows of the Pillar, we'll uncover the chilling undercurrents that threaten to unravel it all, secrets that could change how you see every legendary clash. Stick around, you won't want to miss what brews in the darkness. Shadows of the Pillar. High above the jagged peaks of Sinnoh, where the wind howls like a forgotten spirit, stands Spear Pillar, the crumbling throne of creation itself. This isn't just a mountain ruin, it's the spot where legends say the universe was forged, and where tampering with that power could unravel everything you know. You've journeyed through Kanto's starry caves and Hoenn's raging seas in our story so far, But now we're ascending into Sinnoh's core, where time bends, space warps, and shadows hold the key to it all. Picture the ancient Sinnoh folk gathering under torchlight in the dusty tomes of Canalave Library. They spoke of a time before Pokémon roamed freely, when the world was a blank canvas waiting for its first strokes. According to the myths etched into those yellowed pages, it all began at Spear Pillar. This towering structure, pierced by pillars that mimic the red chain, a relic said to bind the divine, was built to honour the birth of reality. But honour turned to hubris when early. Warriors tried to summon the creators themselves. Dialga, the Lord of Time, with scales that tick like an eternal clock. Palkia, Master of Space, folding dimensions with a single breath. And lurking in the fringes, Giratina, the outcast whose very presence twists the rules of existence. Those ancient battles weren't fairy tales to scare children. They were warnings carved in stone. The myths tell of a cataclysmic clash right here on Spear Pillar's plateau. Ambitious shamans, driven by dreams of controlling fate, forged the red chain from the tears of the lake guardians, Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. They believed it would leash the creation trio, bending Dialga's timelines to their will, or Palkia's realms, to expand their empire. What happened next shook the foundations of the world. Dialga roared, and seconds stretched into eternities, trapping warriors in loops of endless torment. Palkia surged forward, crumpling the battlefield like paper, swallowing armies into voids that spat them out miles away. The air cracked with power, and the pillar itself cracked too, leaving those eerie ruins today. But you have to wonder, what drove them to this madness? The legends whisper of a greater threat, a world on the brink of collapse without balance. Sinnoh's elders passed down stories of how the trio wasn't meant to be summoned lightly. One wrong chant, and you'd invite their wrath, not their aid. Imagine standing there, the storm clouds parting as Dialga's diamond-hard body descends, its eyes glowing with the fury of stolen moments. Or Palkia emerging from a rift, its pearl pulsing like a heartbeat of the cosmos, ready to erase borders between life and nothingness. These weren't benevolent gods, they were forces of nature, indifferent to human pleas. The battles raged for days or perhaps years. Time lost all meaning. Villages below vanished in flashes of spatial tears, and the survivors spoke of shadows creeping from the edges, hungry for the chaos. As the dust settled on those blood-soaked stones, the myths reveal a deeper truth about why the trio's power is so guarded. Enter Giratina, the third wheel in this cosmic trio, banished not out of spite, but necessity. While Dialga shaped the flow of moments, and Palkia moulded the vastness of place, Giratina ruled over antimatter, the raw, unstable underside of reality. The Canalave texts describe it as a serpentine beast with golden plates and wings like shattered mirrors, born in the same instant as its siblings, but deemed too volatile for the physical world. Arceus, the alpha Pokémon, cast it into the Distortion World, a parallel realm of inverted gravity and endless twilight to keep the balance. Without Giratina's exile, the fabric of existence would fray. It's like the shadow to our light. It absorbs the excesses, the glitches that Dialga and Palkia's powers create. Think of it this way. Every tick of time Dialga grants builds something new, but without Giratina siphoning the distortions, those ticks would pile up into paradoxes, unravelling history thread by thread. Yet here's where the legends get chilling. Giratina's banishment isn't a permanent fix, it's a fragile seal. The myths warn that if the red chain ever binds the trio again, it could tear open the veil between worlds. Spear Pillar becomes a beacon then, drawing Giratina from its prison like a moth to flame. The Distortion World isn't just a jail, it's a counterweight. Giratina maintains reality's fabric by devouring the chaos that leaks through, warped Pokémon, glitching landscapes, echoes of battles that never ended. But summon the trio's wrath, and that balance tips. The shadows threaten rupture, spilling Giratina's antimatter into our plane. Imagine the ground inverting beneath your feet, gravity pulling sideways, your own shadow coming alive to drag you under. The ancient battles proved it. One shaman's folly nearly did just that, creating rifts that swallowed entire tribes. The pillar's ruins bear the scars, twisted metal beams, and stones etched with frantic runes, pleas to the gods for mercy. You might think these are just old stories, relics of a superstitious age. But delve deeper into Sinnoh's lore, and you'll find layers that make your skin crawl. The Lake Guardians, those psychic wisps from Azelf's willpower to Mesprit's emotion, played a pivotal role. They gifted their essences to forge the chain, but at what cost? The myths say their spirits dimmed after, wandering Sinnoh's waters as faint guardians, ever watchful for another summoning. And the pillar itself? It's no ordinary rock formation. Legends claim it's aligned with the stars, channeling energies from the Distortion World. During certain eclipses, the myths say, you can hear Giratina's distant wail, a low rumble that vibrates through the earth, reminding mortals of the thin line they tread. Let's pull back the curtain on how this all ties into the bigger picture of Sinnoh's creation myths. From the library scrolls, we learn that Arceus first emerged at Spear Pillar, birthing the trio from its plates to sculpt the universe. Dialga breathed life into time, letting Pokémon evolve and seasons turn. Palkia stretched space, carving oceans and mountains for them to thrive in. But Giratina, it was the cleanup crew, ensuring that creation didn't devour itself. Banishment was mercy, not punishment. Without it, every clash of elemental forces, from Zapdos's storms in Kanto to Groudon and Kyogre's floods in Hoenn, would cascade into total breakdown. Giratina's shadows hold it together, a silent sentinel, yet the threat of rupture looms. If the trio is called upon in anger, Giratina breaks free, not as a villain, but as the equalizer. Its arrival warps everything. Trees growing upside down, rivers flowing backward, Pokémon phasing through walls like ghosts. Now what if I told you these shadows aren't confined to ancient lore? Modern explorers have brushed against them, and their tales echo the myths unresolved. Tensions like a warning unheeded. Take the accounts from hikers who've scaled Mount Coronet to reach the pillar. One trainer, in a journal entry shared on old forums, described a night where the ruins pulsed with unnatural light. He was searching for rare fossils when the air grew heavy, shadows lengthening unnaturally across the stones. Suddenly his Pokégear glitched, time skipping forward in bursts, minutes vanishing, then replaying in echoes. He swore he saw a rift flicker open, a glimpse of inverted landscapes where black wings unfurled. Giratina didn't fully emerge, but the distortion lingered, his Pokémon acting erratic for days, as if they'd brushed the edge of madness. Then there are the researchers from the Sinnoh Pokémon League, documenting anomalies around the pillar. They've logged spikes in spatial distortions, Pokémon teleporting short distances without moves, compasses spinning wildly. One team, during a dig in 2008, uncovered a fragment of the red chain buried deep in the ruins. As they handled it, tremors shook the ground, and shadows seemed to writhe like living smoke. Their instruments recorded electromagnetic pulses mimicking Dialga's aura, but laced with something darker, Giratina's touch. The myth's warnings rang true. Summoning even an echo of the trio invites the shadow's rupture. These modern encounters aren't isolated, they're hints of lingering tensions. The pillar's power never faded, it's dormant, waiting for the next foolhardy soul. Consider the in-game echoes too, those subtle nods that make you question what's real. In Platinum, when you confront Cyrus at the pillar, he tries to recreate that ancient folly, chaining Dialga or Palkia to reshape the world in his image. But the shadows intervene. Giratina's domain bleeds through, pulling you into the Distortion World. It's no coincidence. The game mirrors the myths, showing how banishment holds but doesn't heal. Explorers today report similar glitches, unexplained blackouts where time feels stolen, or spaces that loop endlessly. One diver in the nearby waterways even claimed to see Mesprit's silhouette fleeing toward the pillar, as if sensing an impending tear. These stories build a tapestry of suspense, don't they? You start with the grand battles of old, where warriors gambled with gods and lost everything. Then you uncover Giratina's role, the banished guardian, whose shadows stitch reality whole, yet strain against the seams. And now, with these modern brushes, hikers lost in time loops, researchers fleeing warped shadows, you realise the myths aren't resolved. They're alive, pulsing beneath Sinnoh's surface, ready to erupt if disturbed. What does this mean for trainers like you, venturing into the wilds? It means Spear Pillar isn't a tourist spot, it's a threshold. Cross it carelessly, and you might summon more than memories. As we wrap up our climb through Sinnoh's shadowed heights, the weight of these legends settles in. The creation trio's wrath, Giratina's fragile exile, the ever-present threat of rupture. It's a reminder that some powers are best left undisturbed. But our journey doesn't end here. Up next, we dive into Unova's fractured dragon, where a single beast's shattering betrayal sparked a war of ideals that still divides hearts today. How did one dragon become two rivals and a frozen remnant, and what does it mean for the region's soul? You won't want to miss the rift that changed everything. Unova's fractured dragon. In the heart of Unova, where vast plains stretch toward towering cities and rivers, carve paths through forgotten histories, a single, ancient legend defines the region's soul. The tale of a dragon that shattered into two, born from the bitter divide between truth and ideals. You've journeyed through the primal clashes of Hoenn and the cosmic births of Sinnoh, but here in Unova, the myths turn personal. A story of heroes turned rivals, and a harmony that fractured forever. What if the greatest power wasn't born from creation, but from betrayal? Let's step into this fractured world together. Picture yourself arriving in Unova for the first time, the salty breeze from Accumula town giving way to the bustling energy of Castelia City. But it's the quieter corners that hold the real secrets. The people here speak of their land as one forged in unity, yet scarred by division. Long ago, before the gleaming skyscrapers and the league's champions, two brothers rose as heroes. They were visionaries, you see, leading their people out of darkness with dreams of a perfect world. One brother chased truth relentlessly, seeking facts and evidence to build a future on solid ground. The other pursued ideals, believing in the spark of inspiration that could ignite change beyond what eyes could see. They shared everything, even a bond with a mighty dragon that embodied their combined strength. This original dragon, as the elders call it, was no ordinary beast. It soared above the lands, its scales gleaming like polished obsidian under the sun, a symbol of unbreakable alliance. But unity, as you'll discover, is fragile. As the brothers' visions clashed, so did their hearts. The brother of truth accused his sibling of chasing illusions that could lead to ruin, while the one of ideals saw his brother's rigid facts as chains holding back true progress. Their arguments escalated into a full-blown feud, tearing at the fabric of their kingdom. The people took sides, villages split, and the land itself seemed to tremble. In the midst of this chaos, the original dragon, loyal to both, could no longer endure the contradiction. It writhed in agony, its body convulsing as if the brothers' discord poisoned its very essence. And then, in a cataclysmic moment that echoes through Unova's folklore, the dragon split apart. From its form emerged two new entities, each carrying half of its power, forever embodying the philosophies that tore it asunder. You can almost hear the elders recounting this in hushed tones around evening fires in villages like Isirus or Opelucid. One elder, a weathered storyteller with eyes like polished stones, might lean forward and say, "The dragon shed its body and became three," hinting at mysteries yet to unfold. But the core of the legend is clear. The split created Reshiram and Zekrom, the white dragon of truth and the black dragon of ideals. Reshiram, with its flowing tail like a turbine of pure energy, represents unwavering honesty. It's said to burn with a white-hot flame that reveals hidden realities, scorching away lies and deceptions. Imagine standing before it, feeling the heat of its judgment, as if every secret you've ever kept is laid bare. Zekrom, on the other hand, crackles with electric fury, its tail a generator of raw power. It stands for the pursuit of ideals, generating storms that challenge the status quo and spark revolutions. These two aren't just Pokémon, they're forces of nature, opposites locked in eternal tension, much like the brothers who birthed them. Now, to truly grasp this legend, you have to visit the place where it all began, or rather, where it all broke. Dragon Spiral Tower rises from the icy mists of the giant chasm area, a spiralling structure of weathered stone that twists upward like a frozen helix toward the heavens. This isn't some modern monument, it's ancient, predating even the earliest settlements in Unova. Legends whisper that the original dragon once perched here, its wings folded against the tower's peaks, watching over the land in perfect harmony. The tower was a beacon of balance, where trainers and scholars came to meditate on unity, believing the dragon's presence infused the stones with a subtle energy that promoted peace. Carvings along its walls depict the dragon in flight, whole and majestic, with the brothers standing side by side below it. You climb those steps today, and the air grows colder, the wind carrying faint echoes of roars long silenced, but explored deeper, and the tower reveals its broken legacy. The upper levels bear scars, cracks in the stone where the dragon's splitting supposedly unleashed a shockwave that shook the foundations. Vines choke the stairwells, and faded murals show the moment of division. The dragon's form ripping in two, shadows and light exploding outward. It's haunting, isn't it? This perch of ancient harmony now stands as a monument to what was lost. No longer does a unified guardian watch from above. Instead, the tower feels abandoned, a relic of ideals clashing with truth. Local folklore claims that on stormy nights, you can hear the cries of Reshiram and Zekrom echoing from its heights, calling to each other across the divide, but never reuniting. Trainers who reach the summit often report a strange pull, as if the tower itself mourns the fracture. One account from an old journal, tucked away in the Nakreen City Museum, describes a climber who felt a surge of conflicting energies, fiery truth battling thundering, ideals leaving him dizzy and forever changed. What makes this legend so gripping is how it mirrors Unova's own history. The region, with its blend of tradition and modernity, from the rural roots to the urban sprawl, embodies that same tension. Reshiram and Zekrom aren't hidden away like some legends. They've been sighted roaming the wilds, drawn to those who echo their philosophies. A trainer seeking truth might encounter Reshiram in the heated depths of the relic castle, where its flames illuminate buried artifacts, forcing confrontations with uncomfortable realities. Zekrom, meanwhile, thunders through the charged stone sea, empowering those who dare to dream beyond the evidence. But their opposition isn't just abstract. In Unova's games, their powers clash in epic battles, tails generating turbine blasts and electric bolts that light up the sky. It's as if the dragons themselves continue the brothers' feud, ensuring the land never forgets the cost of division. Delve into the details and you'll find layers that pull you in deeper. The original dragon split wasn't random. It was a sacrifice, a way to preserve what remained of its essence amid the chaos. The brothers, remorseful in their later years, searched for ways to mend the rift, but their paths only diverged further. One built a castle of stone to house truths etched in unyielding rock, while the other forged a citadel of light to inspire endless ideals. And yet, the tower endures as the neutral ground, a place where harmony's memory lingers. If you were to stand there now, wind whipping through the spires, wouldn't you feel the weight of that loss, the chill seeping into your bones, the distant rumble of thunder reminding you that some breaks can't be healed? This fractured legacy shapes Unova in ways you might not expect. Festivals in Lacunosa town reenact the legend, with dragon puppets splitting under lantern light, teaching children the dangers of unchecked rivalry. Scholars debate whether the dragon's philosophies are warnings or guides. Does truth without ideals lead to stagnation, or do ideals without truth breed chaos? It's a question that resonates, especially in a world where Pokémon and humans strive for balance. Reshiram and Zekrom embody that struggle. Their opposing forces, a reminder that power divided can be both destructive and enlightening. You felt it in battles, perhaps, commanding a team that mirrors their duality. Fire and thunder clashing in harmony only you can forge. As we linger in the shadows of Dragon Spiral Tower, with its broken spires whispering of what once was, a deeper shadow looms. The legend doesn't end with two dragons. There's a third piece to this puzzle, a chilling presence that could either unite or consume them all. Up next, in Chapter 11, The Third Dragon's Shadow, we'll uncover the frozen heart of Unova's myth and how it threatens to reshape everything you thought you knew about these fractured guardians. What secrets does this shadow hold, and why has it waited so long in the cold? Stick around, you won't want to miss the chill it brings. But let's not rush ahead just yet. To fully appreciate the tower's sorrow, consider the rituals that once honoured the original dragon. Pilgrims would ascend during solstices, offering scales and gems at the summit to invoke its protective spirit. These offerings, now scattered and weathered, speak of a time when Unova was whole. The tower's design itself is a marvel. 7 floors, each representing a stage of the dragon's life, from egg to ascension. The lowest level holds watery pools, reflecting the dragon's fluid grace, while higher tiers open to the skies, symbolizing its perch. Climbing it today, you navigate icy ledges and puzzle-like mechanisms, each step a metaphor for piecing together the legend's fragments. The feud between the brothers adds such human drama to the myth. Imagine them as young men, full of fire, sharing the dragon's back as they surveyed their growing kingdom. Their first disagreement might have been small, a policy on resource sharing, but it snowballed. The truth seeker demanded audits and proofs, while the idealist rallied with speeches of potential. The dragon, sensing the rift, tried to mediate, circling the land in displays of unity. But when the brothers turned on each other, weapons drawn, In a symbolic clash, the dragon intervened one last time. Its body glowed, then tore, birthing Reshiram to the side of truth, its white form rising like dawn, and Zekrom to ideals, cloaked in night's shadow. The brothers, horrified, watched as their companion became their weapons, each claiming one dragon as their own. In a pellucid city, where time flows differently between past and future visions, an elder preserves scrolls detailing the aftermath. He might tell you how the brothers' kingdoms flourished yet faltered, truth's realm became efficient but joyless, ideals passionate but unstable. The tower, neutral and sacred, became off-limits, a taboo site haunted by the dragon's restless spirits. Sightings of Reshiram often coincide with moments of revelation, like when a hidden corruption in the League is exposed, its flames purging deceit. Zekrom appears during uprisings, empowering the underdog with bolts that topple barriers. Together, they've shaped Unova's heroes, from the player challenging Team Plasma's twisted ideals to those upholding truth against deception. Yet the broken legacy lingers in subtler ways. The tower's aura affects local Pokémon. Drodagon nest in its crevices, their fierce natures echoing the dragon's divide, while Dano evolve nearby, blind to harmony until maturity. Trainers drawn here often form bonds with dragon types, learning to balance their own inner conflicts. It's personal, this legend. It asks you what you'd choose in such a feud. Would you side with Reshiram's unyielding light or Zekrom's stormy passion? The tower doesn't judge, it simply stands, a silent witness to choices unmade. Expanding on the dragons themselves, Reshiram's design is poetic. Its turbine tail spins to unleash blue flare, a move that burns with purifying intensity, often healing allies while scorching foes. In lore, it's the dragon that verifies legends, appearing to those who seek honest paths. Zekrom's Bolt Strike, conversely, channels ideals into overwhelming force, its black scales absorbing light to fuel thunderous assaults. They're mirrors, yet incomplete, their powers amplified only when philosophies align, a rare occurrence that shakes Unova's core. As you descend the tower's stairs, the weight of its history settles in. This perch of ancient harmony, now a site of broken legacy, challenges us to reflect. Unova's fractured dragon isn't just a story, it's a mirror to our own divisions. And as we turn toward that third shadow, the one that could mend or destroy, the intrigue builds. But for now, let the legend sink in. Truth and ideals, forever split, yet eternally linked in Unova's beating heart. To reach that minimum depth, let's weave in more tales from the region. In the games, the legend ties directly to the plot, with N and the player embodying the brothers' philosophies. N, the idealist, bonds with Zekrom, believing Pokémon deserve freedom beyond human truth. You, as the truth seeker, align with Reshiram, proving harmony through evidence and action. Their climactic battle atop the dragon spiral-inspired arena feels like reliving the myth, dragons clashing as the tower's echoes resound. Post-game, exploring the tower reveals Kyurem's chamber, but that's the shadow we'll chase next. Folklore extends to songs sung by bards in Aspetia City, verses recounting the dragon's roar as it split. From one came fire white as bone, from one thunder black as stone. These tunes carry warnings. Division breeds monsters, unity forges legends. Artifacts like the DNA splicers, hidden relics, hint at reversing the split. But at what cost? The tower guards such secrets, its stones humming with latent power. Emotionally, this legend tugs at you. It's not about gods creating worlds, it's brothers losing their way, a dragon paying the price. Feel the tragedy? The what-ifs? If the brothers had reconciled, Would Unova be different? The tower invites that contemplation, its broken legacy, a call to bridge divides. Reshiram and Zekrom, divided halves, remind us opposition can drive progress, but harmony is the true perch. And so, as the winds of Unova carry us forward, the fractured dragon's tail lingers, setting the stage for deeper shadows. The third dragon's shadow, in the heart of Unova, where the ancient city of Opelucid stands as a beacon of forgotten wisdom, an elder once gathered the villagers under the shadow of towering spires and shared a tale that still echoes through the windswept plains. He spoke of a dragon, not just any creature of legend, but the very essence of Unova's soul, a being so vast and powerful that it held the balance of truth, ideals, and the raw force that binds them. This dragon, he said, didn't simply divide, it shed its body and became three. Can you picture the weight of that moment? The sky splitting open as one form fractured into entities that would shape destinies for generations. That elder's words weren't mere folklore. They unveiled the truth hidden in Unova's core. The third dragon, Kurem, the forgotten piece of the puzzle, lurking in icy isolation, waiting to reclaim what was lost. Let's step back for a second and connect the dots you already know from Unova's foundational myth. You've heard how two brothers, heroes of their time, quarrelled over the path forward. One championing truth, the other ideals. And in their divide, the original dragon tore itself apart, birthing Reshiram and Zekrom as fiery opposites locked in eternal conflict. But the elder in Opelucid revealed the deeper layer, the one that trainers whisper about in hushed tones around campfires. The dragon didn't stop at two. In shedding its physical form, it dispersed into three distinct essences, each carrying a fragment of its immense power. Reshiram, the blazing embodiment of truth, with wings like solar flares and a roar that demands unyielding honesty. Zekrom, the thunderous guardian of ideals, its tail a turbine of electric fury, pushing for dreams no matter the cost. And then Kurem, the shadow, the void, the chilling remnant that no one dared name until now. Kurem isn't like the others. It's not a beacon of light or storm. It's the absence, the frozen heart left behind when the dragon's warmth fled. Imagine trekking through the giant chasm where blizzards rage eternally and the ground cracks under feet of perpetual ice. That's Kurem's domain, a colossal black and white behemoth with eyes like frozen voids, its body a jagged fusion of dragon and emptiness. The elder described it as the core that was cast aside, the piece that absorbed the dragon's unspent energy but twisted it into something desolate. Why? Because in the moment of division, the brothers' conflict didn't just split the dragon, it hollowed it out. Kurem became the vessel for that emptiness, a living paradox, a dragon without the fire of passion or the spark of vision, just an endless, icy hunger. But here's where the tale turns from tragedy to something far more urgent, something that pulls at the threads of Unova's very survival. Kurem's icy void isn't content to remain forgotten. It seeks reunion, a desperate primal drive to merge back with its lost halves and restore the original dragon's wholeness. Picture this. Deep in the lore passed down through Opelucid's archives, Kurem is said to wander the frozen wastes, drawn inexorably toward Reshiram and Zekrom like a moth to twin flames. When it finds them, or when a bold soul forces the encounter, fusion begins. We've seen glimpses in the old stories where Kurem engulfs one of the others, transforming into a hybrid terror. With Reshiram, it becomes the savage. Black Kyurem armoured in ice that amplifies truth into a weapon of frozen judgment, capable of flash-freezing armies in an instant. Absorb Zekrom, and white Kyurem emerges, a glacial storm of ideals, where electric power crystallizes into shards that pierce the sky. You might wonder, is this reunion a path to salvation or destruction? The Elder didn't shy away from the duality. On one hand, if balanced perfectly, Kyurem's void could act as the bridge, mending the fracture between truth and ideals. Imagine Unova renewed, rivers flowing freely, lands fertile without the scars of ancient wars, a harmony where dragons soar united, their combined might ensuring prosperity for all. The original dragon reborn would embody not division but synthesis, a force that teaches us how to blend opposing forces without losing ourselves. But the risk, it's monumental. That icy void hungers blindly. If the reunion tips even slightly toward dominance, Kyurem could consume everything, dooming Unova to an eternal winter. Cities like Opalucid, with their intricate clockwork and sunlit plazas, would bury under avalanches of regret. The balance shattered not by brothers' quarrel, but by a core too empty to know mercy. Trainers who chase this legend often speak of it in warnings. Approach Kyurem, and you gamble with the region's fate. One wrong move, and the void spreads, freezing ideals into irrelevance and truthies into brittle lies. Delve deeper into the Elder's recounting, and you'll find layers that make your skin crawl with anticipation. He described visions from the dragon's final moments, how its body dissolved in a cataclysmic burst over the dragon spiral tower, that spiraling monolith piercing Unova's eastern skies, where the original perched before the split. The tower's stones, etched with runes that glow faintly under moonlight, capture the essence of that shedding. Each level represents a fragment, the base for Zikrom's grounded fury, the midsections for Reshiram's soaring purity, and the pinnacle, a hollow chamber said to mirror Kyurem's emptiness, where echoes of the dragon's cry still linger like wind through cracks. The Elder claimed that on stormy nights you can hear it, a low rumbling void that pulls at your soul, urging reunion. But it's not just sound, it's a call to action. Kyurem's presence warps the land around it, turning lush valleys into tundras, as if the ice is testing Unova's resolve. Now let's talk about what this means for you, the explorer piecing together these legends. If you're wandering Unova's routes from the bustling streets of Castelia to the misty peaks of Twist Mountain, keep an ear out for tales from nomads and scholars. They speak of Kyurem not as a monster to conquer, but as a mirror to our own divisions. Have you ever felt torn between what you know is right and what you dream could be? That's the dragon's legacy in us. The Elder emphasized that Kyurem's void seeks more than physical merger. It craves emotional, a reconciliation. In one anecdote he shared, a long-lost hero once approached the giant chasm, not with Pokeballs at the ready, but with words of unity. The ice receded just enough to reveal a glimpse of the original dragon's warmth, a fleeting aurora that lit the chasm like dawn. But heroes are rare, and voids are patient. As the Elder's voice faded into the Opalucid night, he turned to the tower's inscriptions, those ancient carvings that have weathered centuries of doubt. They prophesy not despair, but possibility, a new hero destined to mend the fracture, or in failure perpetuate the divide forever. Etched in the dragon spiral's highest sanctum are symbols of a figure, neither brother nor king, but a wanderer with a pure heart, who approaches Kyurem not as conqueror, but as equalizer. This hero, the runes suggest, will facilitate the reunion under the tower's gaze, drawing Reshiram and Zekrom to the site of their birth. Success means Unova's golden age, dragons entwined in a trinity of power, where truth illuminates ideals without burning them away, and the void fills with shared purpose. Picture festivals in Icirrus City, where ice sculptures melt into blooming gardens, symbolizing the thaw. Yet the prophecy carries a chilling warning. If the hero falters, seduced by power or blinded by bias, the divide deepens. Curem's void expands unchecked, fusing with one dragon while repelling the other, creating a lopsided behemoth that ravages the land. Unova becomes a battlefield of extremes, half in endless summer blaze, half in perpetual frost, with no middle ground for life to thrive. The inscriptions don't name this hero. They imply it's anyone who listens to the Elder's tale, anyone who climbs the tower with courage. You, perhaps, standing at the edge of the giant chasm, feeling the cold seep into your bones. Will you heed the call? The runes end with a question mark carved in ice-like script. Who bridges the shadow? This revelation from the tower shifts everything we've uncovered about Unova. It's not just a story of loss, it's a blueprint for redemption, hanging on the edge of a knife. As we wrap up the shadows of the third dragon, the weight of Curem's void lingers, reminding us that legends aren't static, they demand our participation. But Unova's tale of fractured power and icy longing sets the stage for something even more profound. Up next in Chapter 12, Kalos' cycle of life will uncover how eternal vitality clashes with inevitable decay in a region where life itself hangs in delicate balance. Prepare to question what it truly means to live forever. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Kalos' cycle of life. In the heart of Kalos, where elegant palaces overlook blooming gardens and ancient ruins hide secrets of renewal, the legends revolve around a profound cycle, the endless dance between life, death, and balance. You've journeyed through Unova's fractured dragon, where harmony shattered into opposing forces of truth and ideals. But now we're stepping into a region that treats existence itself as a grand, inevitable rhythm. Kalos doesn't just tell stories of creation or conflict. It whispers about what happens after the battles fade, when vitality must be restored and destruction must give way to dormancy. This is the cycle of life, embodied by three legendary beings whose roles ensure the world doesn't tip into chaos or stagnation. Let's begin at Parfum Palace, that opulent chateau nestled in the countryside, where the air smells of fresh roses and the walls are lined with faded tapestries and inscribed stones. If you wander its halls in the games, you'll find texts etched into the architecture, passed down from scholars who studied the region's earliest myths. These writings paint Xerneas not as a distant god, but as a gentle arbiter of vitality, a deer-like entity with antlers that glow like the dawn. According to the palace lore, Xerneas awakens every 1,000 years from a deep slumber to wander the lands, bestowing life force upon the weary world. Imagine the scene they describe: barren fields suddenly bursting with colour, rivers swelling with clear water, and creatures long faded regaining their spark. It's said that Xerneas touches the earth with its presence alone, granting energy to Pokémon and humans alike, healing wounds that time can't mend. But this gift comes at a cost, or rather, a natural pause. Once its cycle of giving is complete, Xerneas retreats into 1,000-year sleep, retreating to hidden groves where it rests, its antlers dimming as it conserves the very essence it shares so freely. You can almost hear the palace chroniclers' awe in their words. They call it the slumber of renewal, a time when the world must sustain itself on the vitality already given, learning to cherish what was bestowed. What makes this legend so captivating is how it mirrors Kalos' own beauty, a region famed for its art, fashion, and pristine landscapes. Think about Lumiose City, with its towering prism tower sparkling under the sun, or the wildflowers carpeting Route 7. The palace texts suggest Xerneas isn't just a myth, it's the reason Kalos thrives in cycles of abundance. Researchers in the games, like those NPC scholars you chat with, speculate that sightings of a luminous deer in the forests correlate with bountiful harvests or sudden recoveries from illness. Have you ever wondered why Kalos feels so alive, so vibrant? It's as if the land itself remembers Xerneas' touch, pulsing with that 1,000-year-old energy. But life can't exist without its shadow, and that's where the contrast sharpens into something truly chilling. Enter Yveltal, the stark opposite in this duo of legends, a harbinger of destruction whose very form evokes a crimson-winged moth ready to unfold catastrophe. While Xerneas grants vitality, Yveltal absorbs it, drawing life from everything in its path during times of apocalyptic excess. The Parfum Palace texts don't shy away from the horror. They describe Yveltal awakening in eras of overabundance, when the world grows too lush, too unchecked, tipping the balance toward decay. Picture this: skies darkening as Yveltal soars, its wings siphoning the breath from forests, turning vibrant meadows to ash, and leaving Pokémon and people drained, frozen in a death-like hush. It's not mindless evil, though. The lore frames it as necessary. Yveltal feasts on the excess life that Xerneas once gave, preventing the cycle from spiralling into endless growth that would choke the land. And after its grim banquet, when the world lies subdued, Yveltal doesn't vanish. It cocoons itself, wrapping in a silken shroud to hibernate, much like a butterfly reversing its transformation. This cocoon phase, detailed in Geosenge Area's ancient carvings, is a period of quiet reflection for the world, allowing what remains to rebuild without interference. You might feel a chill thinking about it, right? In Kalos' lore, Yveltal isn't a villain to defeat. It's the grim reaper of equilibrium, ensuring that death paves the way for new beginnings. Contrast this with Xerneas' benevolent wanderings, and you see the cycle in full: giving, taking, resting. The palace texts even warn that ignoring this balance invites disaster. Stories of past feasts of oblivion, where Yveltal's rampage lasted months, leaving entire villages as ghost towns until Xerneas stirred early from slumber. It's a reminder that in Kalos, life isn't linear. It's a pendulum swing, and tampering with it, as some ancient kings supposedly tried by seeking eternal youth from Xerneas, only hastens Yveltal's wrath. Explorers in the games echo this, with trainers on Route 13 sharing tales of eerie red glows in the sky before storms, hinting at Yveltal's distant stirrings. But what keeps this cycle from unravelling completely? That's where the true guardian enters the picture, a being that watches from the shadows, intervening only when the rhythm falters. Zygarde, the order keeper of ecosystems, slumbers deep within Terminus Cave, that labyrinthine network on the eastern edge of Kalos, riddled with glowing crystals and echoing drips. Unlike the active wanderers, Xerneas and Yveltal, Zygarde is the silent sentinel, its serpentine form coiled in forms that adapt, 10%, 50%, or the full 100% power when roused. The lore from Route 13 researchers, scribbled in field journals you can find in-game, portrays Zigard as the embodiment of the world's interconnected web. It emerges not for glory or hunger, but to safeguard the balance when humanity or nature disrupts it. Imagine delving into Terminus Cave yourself, flashlight flickering on walls etched with serpentine motifs, feeling the ground hum as if something immense stirs below. These researchers explain that Zigard monitors the flow of life across Kalos, from the bustling streets of Chaleur City to the serene ponds of Ambret Town, sensing when Xerneas's gifts are wasted or Yveltal's destruction spirals too far. In one legend, during a time when factories choked the rivers with pollution, Zigard rose in its complete form, coiling through the land to dismantle the threats, restoring habitats with seismic precision. It's not aggressive, it's corrective, breaking down what's broken and reforming it into harmony. You won't find Zigard charging into battles like Rayquaza did in Hoenn. Instead, it's the quiet enforcer, appearing as fragmented cells that reassemble only in crisis. This ties back to the Palace texts, which hint that Zigardi was born from the same primordial forces as its counterparts, but chose vigilance over participation in the give and take. Diving deeper, Kalos' cycle of life isn't just abstract myth, it's woven into the region's geography and culture. Take the Azure Bay, where underwater ruins depict Xerneas illuminating the depths, bringing bioluminescent life to coral reefs that then attract Yveltal's occasional culling to prevent overpopulation. Or consider Reflection Cave, its mirrors said to reflect not just your face, but glimpses of the cycle, a deer's graceful leap fading into a moth's shadowy flight, with a green serpent watching from the edges. Trainers who've explored these spots often share personal stories. Did you know some claim to have felt a surge of energy near Levair City, attributing it to Xerneas's lingering aura? Others speak of nightmares after battling near Geosenge, where Yveltal's influence lingers like a bad omen. This balance resonates emotionally because it mirrors our own lives, doesn't it? Periods of growth followed by rest, loss that clears space for renewal. In Kalos, the legends teach humility. You can't hoard vitality forever, and destruction, though painful, is part of thriving. Zigard's role amplifies this, positioning it as the world's conscience, emerging from Terminus Cave's depths to remind us that every action ripples through the ecosystem. Researchers on Route 13 emphasize this in their notes, warning that modern threats like deforestation or overfishing could awaken Zigard prematurely, leading to interventions we might not survive. It's a call to awareness, making you pause and think about your own footprint in this vast world. As we explore further, consider how these legends influenced Kalos' society. The Kalosian monarchy, with its roots in Parfum Palace, once held festivals honouring the cycle, grand balls where dancers mimicked Xerneas' prance and Yveltal's wingspan, culminating in a meditative silence for Zigarda's watch. Even in the games, events like the Pokémon showcase in Lumiose draw from this, performers channeling the legends through light and shadow. But what if the cycle breaks? The texts allude to the Great Eclipse, a near-mythical event where Yveltal absorbed too much and Xerneas slumbered too long, forcing Zigard to reshape entire landscapes. Caves like Terminus bear scars from that era, twisted rocks that hum with residual energy. You start to see the depth here, how Kalos layers its lore like the petals of a blooming flower. Xerneas' thousand-year slumbers aren't laziness, they're the breath between heartbeats, allowing the world to internalize the life given. Yveltal's cocooned hibernation post-feast is equally vital, a withdrawal that lets the absorbed energy recycle into the soil, feeding future growth. And Zygarde? It's the thread holding it all, its emergence from the cave a promise that balance will prevail. This isn't just Pokémon trivia, it's a philosophy urging you to view the region not as a backdrop for battles, but as a living entity in perpetual motion. Reflect on encounters with these legends in your adventures. Catching Xerneas feels like capturing a sunrise, its fairy typing pulsing with restorative power in battles, healing allies mid-fight. Yveltal, with its dark flying menace, drains foes relentlessly, echoing its lore in every absorb attack. Zygarde, adaptable and ground dragon strong, coils around threats, its power constructability mirroring the cave's transformative depths. These mechanics aren't random. They're tributes to the cycle, making every team composition a mini balance act. Yet the stories go beyond gameplay. Folklore from Shalo's gym leader, Karina, hints at her family's skating traditions, stemming from mimicking Zygarde's fluid movements across icy terrains, preserving ecosystem paths. In Ambretta Town's fossil lab, scientists draw parallels between revived ancient Pokémon and Xerneas' revival powers, suggesting the deer-influenced evolution itself. Even the mega-evolution phenomenon in Kalos ties in, stones that awaken hidden potential, much like Xerneas stirring latent life, but with Yveltal's shadow lurking if overused. As we wrap this chapter on Kalos' cycle of life, you can feel the weight of its elegance, a region where legends don't clash but complement, ensuring eternity through measured steps. But what happens when that cycle intersects with forces aiming to impose a rigid, unchanging order? Up next in Chapter 13, The Order of Eternity, we'll uncover legends that challenge time itself, revealing guardians who could rewrite the very rules of existence. You won't want to miss how this shifts everything we've discussed so far. The Order of Eternity. In the heart of Kalos, where rolling hills meet shadowed valleys, ancient stones in Geosenge whisper a truth that's shaped the region for millennia. Xerneas and Yveltal stand as eternal opposites, locked in a dance that cycles life and death across the land. You know those legends from Parfum Palace? The ones etched into faded tapestries? They paint Xerneas not just as a deer-like guardian, but as the very breath of renewal. Cycles starting with a Xerneas awakening from its 1,000-year slumber, horns glowing with an otherworldly light, infusing forests with vibrant energy. Flowers bloom in seconds, rivers teem with fish, and Pokémon that were on the brink suddenly thrive. It's like the region exhales after holding its breath too long. But here's what the Geosenge lore uncovers deeper. Xerneas doesn't just give life, it pulls it from the ether, drawing on the world's latent vitality to tip the scales toward growth. And when its work is done, it retreats, leaving Kalos bursting with possibility. Yet no cycle endures without its shadow. Yveltal, that majestic bird of crimson wings, emerges to claim what must fade. The same Geosenge inscriptions describe it as the harvester, absorbing life force not out of malice, but necessity. When ecosystems grow too dense, when populations swell beyond the land's capacity, Yveltal soars overhead, draining the excess until the ground lies still. Trees wither, Pokémon enter a deep sleep, and the air grows heavy with silence. It's death, yes, but a purposeful one, a pruning that prevents total collapse. You can almost hear the elders in Geosenge recounting how Yveltal once descended during a time of unchecked prosperity, when Lumiose City's expansion threatened to choke the wilds. The lore says it cocooned itself afterward, entering hibernation to restore its own strength, ensuring the balance resets. These two aren't enemies, they're partners in eternity, one igniting the spark, the other dousing the flame before it consumes everything. Without Yveltal, Xerneas's gifts would lead to overabundance, a world strangled by its own abundance. And without Xerneas, Yveltal's touch would plunge Kalos into endless night. It's a rhythm as old as the region itself, etched into the soil of Geosenge, where travellers still pause to feel that ancient pulse. But what happens when that rhythm falters? That's where the real mystery of Kalos unfolds, and it leads us straight to the windswept paths of Route 13. Researchers there, huddled in makeshift labs amid the towering reflections of the glittering cave, have pieced together insights that elevate this cycle to something cosmic. They've studied Zygarde, that serpentine enigma slithering through Terminus Cave's depths, and what they've found is staggering. Zygarde isn't just another legend, it's the balancer, the silent sentinel that activates only when nature's equilibrium shatters. Imagine you're one of those scientists, poring over soil samples and seismic readings. The data shows patterns, subtle shifts in biodiversity, tremors in the earth that align with Zygarde's rare appearances. Route 13's notes describe it as a patchwork of cells, 10% form for scouting, 50% for intervention, and the full 100% as a last resort. Why? Because Kalos's ecosystem is fragile, a web where every Pokémon, every blade of grass, plays a role. When Xerneas overextends or Yveltal withdraws too soon, imbalances ripple out. Droughts in one valley, floods in another, species vanishing overnight. Those researchers on Route 13 tell stories that make your skin crawl. One account from a veteran ecologist recounts a night when the route's wilds went eerily quiet. No hoot-hoot calls, no rustling underfoot. Then the ground hummed, and Zygarde's eyes, those piercing green orbs, lit the darkness. It wasn't destroying, it was correcting. Overpopulated swanaflocks had depleted the wetlands, throwing off the food chain. Zygarde intervened, reshaping the terrain just enough to restore flow. You have to wonder, don't you? In a world where trainers battle for sport, how close are we to tipping that scale ourselves? The lore insists Zygarde watches from the shadows, its core pulsing in Terminus Cave like a heartbeat for the planet. It's not aggressive, it's patient, gathering data through its detached cells that scatter like living sensors. Only when the shatter point hits, when life and death veer into chaos, does it rise. And rise it does, coiling with the force of the earth itself. A reminder that Kalos thrives on harmony, not dominance. Now hold on, because the Route 13 insights don't end with mere balance. They point to something darker, a twist buried in fragmented scrolls from Geosenge's ruins. Ancient warnings speak of a great imbalance, a cataclysm where the cycle breaks entirely, and all three, Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde, must unite against ultimate decay. Can you feel the weight of that? It's not just theory, it's prophecy. The texts describe a time when human ambition, or perhaps some forgotten force, severs the opposite's bond. Life surges unchecked, then drains to nothing, leaving a husk of a world. Yveltal's cocoon cracks prematurely, Xerneas's light dims, and Zygarde's cells scatter in vain. But in that peril the trio converges, not as rivals, but allies. Imagine Xerneas channeling vitality to heal the land, Yveltal siphoning the rot of decay, and Zygarde binding it all with earth and might. The warnings are vivid. Crumbling murals show them entwined at Geosenge's peak. Horns, wings, and coils forming a triad against a void that swallows stars. Why does this matter to you, wandering through Kalos's lore? Because it reveals a region not ruled by chaos, but by interdependence, Take the palaces and caves we've touched on. Parfum's opulent halls celebrate Xerneas's gifts with festivals of renewal, where nobles once offered jewels to coax its awakening. Yet those same halls hide chambers scarred by Yveltal's passings, tapestries torn where life was reclaimed. And Terminus Cave, it's no mere hideout. It's Zygarde's nerve centre. Walls etched with maps of equilibrium points across Kalos. Researchers on Route 13 have even theorised that the cave connects to Geosenge via underground veins, a literal lifeline for the Order. You might recall battling through those depths, flashlight cutting the gloom, unaware that every step echoed with watchful eyes. It's thrilling, isn't it? This Order of Eternity turns Kalos into a living puzzle where every route, every ruin, hints at the stakes. Let's dig deeper into how this plays out in the wilds. Consider the seasonal shifts around Laver City, where Xerneas's influence lingers longest. Spring arrives like a miracle, Aldino herds multiplying, gardens exploding in colour. But by autumn, Yveltal's shadow creeps in. Leaves fall not from time, but from a deliberate fade making way for winter's rest. Without that, the soil would starve, unable to support the next bloom. Zygarde ensures it, its cells monitoring the decay, intervening if pests overrun the fallen foliage. One Route 13 journal entry from a researcher named Ilara describes a close call, an invasive species from overseas, introduced by careless traders, threatened to overrun the moors. Zygarde's 10% form appeared as a shimmer in the grass, subtly redirecting water flows to drown the invaders without harming natives. It's precision, not power, that defines it. You can see why the ancients revered this trio. They weren't gods of wrath, but stewards of sustainability. And those ancient warnings? They're not vague omens, they're detailed cautions passed down through Kalos's bards. In Geosenge, storytellers gather under the stars, reciting how the great imbalance nearly befell the region eons ago. A war between tribes, they say, awakened Yveltal too early, draining the land while Xerneas slumbered. Rivers ran dry, Pokémon fled or perished, and the sky turned ashen. Zygarde stirred then, but alone it faltered, until the opposites roused. Together, they forged the ultimate decay's end, a ritual at the region's heart, where life, death and balance merge to purge the corruption. The murals depict it as a blaze of light and shadow, coils wrapping the pair in protection. What chills me is the warning's final line. When the three stand as one, the eternal order endures. Divide them, and Kalos crumbles to dust. It's a call to harmony, echoing through time. Have you ever stood in Geosenge, feeling that history press down? It makes you question our own world. How many imbalances are we ignoring right now? Expanding on this, the lore ties into Kalos's very geography. The reflecting caves along Route 13 aren't random. They're amplifiers for Zygarde's senses, mirrors that catch glimpses of Xerneas's glow or Yveltal's silhouette. Researchers believe these formations formed during a past convergence, when the trio reshaped the land to prevent future decays. One experiment even simulated a minor shatter, disrupting a local pond's ecosystem. And sure enough, Zygarde's cells responded, realigning the balance overnight. It's science meeting myth, proving the legends aren't fairy tales. You, as a trainer, have felt this indirectly, capturing a Pokémon that seems too vital, or encountering a withered patch that revives after a storm. That's the Order at work, subtle and profound. But let's make it personal. What if you witnessed the great imbalance? Picture trekking Route 13 at dusk, the wind carrying whispers of unrest. The ground trembles, not from Diglett, but something deeper. Xerneas bounds through the mist, horns flickering erratically, while Yveltal circles above, wings blotting the moon. And from the cave Zygarde emerges, not in fragments, but whole, a dragon of emerald fury. They don't clash, they align, a symphony against the encroaching void. The air crackles with energy, life surging back into barren fields, death claiming only the tainted. It's the stuff of nightmares and dreams. A reminder that eternity isn't guaranteed, it's guarded. The Route 13 team warns that modern threats, like unchecked urbanization or exotic introductions, edge us closer to that edge. Their insights urge vigilance, study the land, respect the cycle, or risk the shatter. As we peel back these layers, the Order of Eternity reveals Kalos as a beacon of fragile beauty. Geosenge's opposites ensure the wheel turns, Route 13's balancer keeps it steady, and the ancient twist promises redemption through unity. It's a legend that lingers, making every step in Kalos feel charged with purpose. You walk these paths now, don't you? Armed with this knowledge, seeing the hidden rhythms in the rustle of leaves or the call of distant birds. And yet, this is just Kalos's chapter in a larger tapestry. Up next, in Threads Across Regions, we'll trace how these eternal forces echo through every corner of the Pokémon world, connecting beasts and myths in ways that will leave you questioning everything you've known. What hidden links bind Kanto's birds to Hoenn's titans? Stick around, you won't want to miss how it all intertwines. Threads Across Regions. Did you know that the ancient legends of Pokémon aren't isolated tales from distant lands, but threads woven into a single, sprawling tapestry that spans every region? What starts as a meteor's crash in Kanto echoes through the flames of Johto's towers, hinting at guardians who watch over the elements themselves. As we pull these stories together, you'll see how they form a cosmic web, binding the world's primal forces in ways that reshape everything you thought you knew about Pokémon lore. Let's begin where it all feels so familiar yet profoundly ancient. Kanto. Remember the whispers from Mount Moon, that fateful impact site where a meteor didn't just scar the Earth, it seeded life. Those moonstones, glowing under the night sky, aren't random treasures. They're remnants of a celestial event that birthed species like Clefairy, creatures tied to the stars. And then there are the legendary birds, those elusive spirits of storm, frost and fire. Zapdos crackles with electricity at the abandoned power plant. Articuno glides through the icy depths of Seafoam Islands, and Moltres soars above the fiery trials of Victory Road. NPCs across Kanto speak of them not as mere Pokémon, but as eternal watchers, perching on these sacred spots to maintain balance. They're guardians of the elements born from cosmic chaos, ensuring lightning doesn't rage unchecked, ice doesn't engulf the seas, or flames don't consume the land. Now connection unfolding as we cross into Johto, where the air hums with resurrection and renewal. The brass tower in Ecruteak, once a beacon for Lugia, the guardian of the seas, stood tall until fire ravaged it, burning for 3 straight days according to the monks who tend its ruins. That blaze wasn't just destruction, it was a rebirth. From those ashes rose the legendary beasts, Raikou, Entei and Suicune, revived by Ho-Oh itself, the rainbow-winged phoenix perched atop the bell tower. The elders there promise eternal happiness to those who glimpse Ho-Oh, but dig deeper and you'll find the real thread. These beasts embody the same elemental fury as Kanto's birds. Raikou thunders like Zapdos, Entei blazes like Moltres, and Suicune flows pure and unyielding like Articuno's chill. It's no coincidence. Johto's resurrections aren't random miracles. They're a direct echo of Kanto's cosmic origins. The meteors fall scattered elemental essences across the regions, and in Johto, Ho-Oh acts as the ultimate guardian, pulling those forces back from oblivion to safeguard the world's harmony. What if the legendary birds were the first sparks, and these beasts their reborn kin, forever linked in a cycle of destruction and protection? You can feel the weight of that guardianship, can't you? It's like the regions are sharing a secret language, one where elements aren't wild forces to be tamed, but sacred duties passed from one legend to the next. This theme pulses through every stone and tower, reminding us that Pokémon lore isn't about individual heroes. It's about a collective watch over the planet's core. Shifting our gaze southward to Hoenn, those threads tighten into something even more primal. Here the legends aren't about births from the sky, they're about wars that nearly unmade the world. Deep in Granite Cave, murals etched by forgotten hands depict Groudon and Kyogre locked in eternal conflict. Groudon, the continent maker, expands the land with seismic fury, while Kyogre floods the seas in response. Their battles bringing ruin, tsunamis swallowing cities, earthquakes splitting mountains. Sotopolis City's lore paints it vividly. The people lived in fear until Rayquaza descended from the ozone layer to the sky pillar, its serpentine form coiling around the tower to end the chaos. Wallace, the gym leader with his tales of old, recounts how Rayquaza calmed the Titans, restoring balance by mediating their primal urges. These aren't just sea and land monsters, they're foundational forces, guardians of Earth's very shape. But how does this tie back to what we've uncovered? Hoenn's primal wars build directly on Kanto and Johto's elemental guardianship. Think about it. The legendary birds and beasts patrol the skies, storms and flames to prevent exactly the kind of imbalance Groudon and Kyogre unleash. Rayquaza, high above, serves as the aerial overseer, much like Ho-Oh's watchful eye, or Lugia's oceanic vigil. These myths aren't separate, they're layers of the same story, where cosmic origins in Kanto ignite the resurrections in Johto, and both warn of the devastation in Hoenn if guardianship fails. It's a chain reaction, showing how early elemental watchers set the stage for these colossal clashes. And as we venture north to Sinnoh, that chain forges into creation itself. The spear pillar isn't just a ruin, it's the axis of existence, where all began according to the myths scribed in Canalave library. Dialga commands time, its roars echoing through eternity to keep moments from unraveling. Palkia shapes space, folding dimensions to hold the world intact. But lurking in the shadows of the Distortion World is Giratina, the renegade who enforces balance from the fringes, banished yet essential. These three aren't rivals, they're architects, carving reality from nothingness at that very pillar, with ruins aligned to their forms, like a cosmic blueprint. Here's where the influence shines through. Sinnoh's creation myths are the bedrock beneath Hoenn's wars and the guardians of Kanto and Johto. Dialga and Palkia's dominion over time and space explains why elemental forces can be tamed or reborn. Time rewinds resurrections, space contains primal rages. Giratina's exile mirrors Rayquaza's lofty intervention, both outsiders who step in when balance teeters. Imagine the meteor from Kanto not as a random event, but a fragment of Sinnoh's origin point, scattering seeds that Ho-Oh revives and Rayquaza mediates. These foundational tales influence every later legend, whispering that all Pokémon stem from this divine triad, guardians ensuring creation doesn't collapse into chaos. You start to see the pattern, right? A universal order where elements, time and space guard against oblivion. But the web doesn't stop there. Let's weave in Unova, where the threads twist into something fractured yet profound. At the heart of Unova's legend lies the original dragon, a singular being of boundless power that once perched atop Dragon's Spiral Tower. Two brothers, heroes of their age, sought its wisdom but clashed over truth and ideals. In their divide, the dragon shattered, its body splitting into Reshiram, the blazing truth seeker, and Zekrom, the electrified idealist. An elder in a pellucid city reveals the full tragedy. The dragon shed its body and became three, the third fragment lingering as Kyurem, the frozen husk waiting in the giant chasm. This isn't just a breakup, it's a cautionary fracture of harmony, echoing the elemental guardians we've traced. How does Unova fit the tapestry? That original dragon embodies the same guardianship, but through division. Like Kanto's cosmic scatter or Johto's fiery rebirth, Unova shows what happens when unity breaks. Elements splinter, much as Groudon and Kyogre ward, or Dialga and Palkia define boundaries. Reshiram and Zekrom patrol ideals and truths, guardians against ideological chaos, while Kyurem's chill awaits reunion, hinting at Sinnoh's time-space mending. It's a twist on the theme. Guardianship demands wholeness, or the world frays at the edges. You'll feel that pull, the sorrow of a dragon torn apart, mirroring how Hoenn's titans nearly drown the land in their primal feud. Finally, Kalos brings the cycle full circle with legends of life and death eternally intertwined. In the opulent texts of Parfum Palace and the shadowed lore of Geosenge, Xerneas emerges as the giver of vitality, its antlers blooming with energy before it enters 1,000-year slumber. Yveltal, its crimson counterpart, absorbs life to cocoon and hibernate, a necessary harvest to prevent overgrowth. But watching from the depths of Terminus Cave is Zygarde, the coiled sentinel, appearing only when the ecosystem teeters. Researchers on Route 13 swear by it, calling it the balancer of all things. These three? They're the ultimate echo of our threaded cosmology. Xerneas and Yveltal cycle life, like Johto's resurrections from ashes, while Zygarde enforces guardianship, akin to Rayquaza's mediation or Giratina's fringe watch. The fractured dragon of Unova finds parallel in Kalos's trio, where unity in diversity, life, death, and balance prevents the cosmic unravelling seen in earlier myths. Imagine the meteor's essence fueling Xerneas' bloom, or Sinnoh's creation myths birthing Yveltal's harvest. It's a universal rhythm. Elements guard, wars test, creation sustain, fractures warn, and cycles renew. Across regions, these legends reveal a Pokémon world not ruled by chance but by an intricate guardianship that binds sky, sea, land, time, and life into one enduring story. What strikes you most about these connections? The way a single theme, elemental guardianship, pulses from Kanto's starry crash to Kalos's eternal sleep, influencing every clash and creation along the way. It's as if the ancients knew the regions were puzzle pieces of a greater whole, each legend building on the last to teach us about balance. Hoenn's primal wars gain depth when viewed through Sinnoh's lens of origin, just as Unova's broken dragon aches with the resurrections of Johto. This shared cosmology isn't abstract, it's a call to wonder, urging trainers like you to see the Guardians not as distant myths, but as active forces shaping our journeys. Take a moment to let that sink in. You've journeyed through cosmic falls, tower flames, oceanic rages, pillar births, dragon schisms, and life cycles, and now the threads are clear. They form a narrative of protection, where every region's tale reinforces the others, creating a lore that's alive, interconnected, and endlessly fascinating. But these ancient whispers don't fade into history. They resonate today in ways that carry urgent warnings for the modern world. Up next, in Chapter 15, Modern Echoes and Warnings, we'll explore how these timeless legends are playing out right now, from shadowy organisations tampering with primal forces to signs that the Guardians might be stirring once more. You won't want to miss how the past is colliding with our present. Stick around, because the stakes just got real. Modern Echoes and Warnings. What if the ancient legends of Pokémon aren't just dusty stories locked in the past, but living forces that still rumble beneath our feet today? In regions from Kanto's shadowed craters to Kalos's verdant wilds, sites like Spear Pillar in Sinnoh and Sky Pillar in Hoenn aren't mere ruins. They're conduits, humming with residual energies that respond to the world we know now. You've explored these places in your games, felt that eerie pull when you step onto cracked stone or gaze up at storm-lashed heights. But here's the twist. These locations aren't dormant. They're awake, in subtle ways, whispering warnings about threats that feel all too modern. Let's start with Spear Pillar, that lofty plateau in Sinnoh where the myths say creation itself ignited. You remember climbing those jagged stairs, the wind howling like the birth cries of time and space. In the games, it's a place of raw power, where Dialga, Palkia, and even Giratina's shadow can tear through reality. But players have reported something more persistent, something that lingers even after the credits roll. Think about those moments when you're wandering Mount Coronet, and suddenly your screen glitches, not from a bad connection, but from an in-game anomaly. NPCs in Celestic Town murmur about it. The pillar calls to those who listen. Lately, the winds carry voices, old and urgent. It's as if the residual energy from those creation gods hasn't faded. Scientists in the Pokémon world, those eggheads in Canalave, note fluctuations in magnetic fields around the site, spikes that align with global events, like when Team Galactic stirred up trouble, or even quieter disturbances, such as unusual weather patterns sweeping the region. You see, Spear Pillar isn't just a backdrop for epic battles. It's a battery, charged by the essence of Dialga's temporal pulses and Palkia's spatial warps. In Diamond and Pearl, when you summon them, the pillar lights up with ethereal glows that persist in remakes like Brilliant Diamond. Players share stories online. Forums light up with tales of random encounters near the ruins. Clefairy swarms under full moons, echoing Moon's meteor vibes from Kanto, or unowned symbols flickering on walls that weren't there before. It's like the site is echoing back, reacting to contemporary threats. Remember the Distortion World? That warped realm Giratina calls home. Encounters there feel disorienting, but post-game visits show lingering distortions, as if the antimatter energy seeps out, warning of imbalances. An elder in Sunishaw City hints at it. When the world's rhythm falters, the pillar trembles. We've seen shadows stir before, against those who would unravel time itself. Now shift your gaze to Hoenn's Sky Pillar, that serpentine tower rising from the sea like a forgotten fang. You know the legend, Rayquaza descending to quell the primal fury of Groudon and Kyogre. But today, this isn't just a spot for catching the Sky Dragon. It's pulsing with an energy that's almost alive, tied to the land and sea's fragile balance. In Emerald and Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, the pillar's interior murals glow faintly when you approach, depicting those ancient clashes. Players notice it. The air feels thicker. Your Pokémon's levels seem to spike inexplicably during climbs, as if the residual primal energy is seeping into the environment. Wallace, that elegant gym leader, doesn't just recount tales, he drops hints in his dialogues about modern stirrings. The pillar watches, he says in Sotopolis. Lately, the tides rage unnaturally, and the tower hums in response. Something awakens when the world's waters boil. What makes this chilling is how it ties to real-time threats in Hoenn. Think about the Devon Corporation's tech booms, or the frequent volcanic activity near Lava Ridge, events that mirror Groudon and Kyogre's ruinous battles. NPC fishermen on Route 132 talk of strange lights at night, beams shooting from the pillar, like Rayquaza's warning flares. And in player encounters? Oh, you've got trainers sharing clips of wild Pokémon evolving mid-battle near the site, or sudden mega evolutions without stones, as if the primal reversion energy is leaking out. It's not random, it's reactive. When ecological disasters hit, like oil spills in the game's lore, or overzealous team magma and aqua schemes, the pillar's winds pick up, carrying cries that sound like the dragon's roars. Researchers in Moss Deep Space Center log it, seismic readings off the charts, aligning with Sky Pillar's position. You can't help but wonder, are these sites sensing our world's strains? Pollution, climate shifts, these ancient guardians might be gearing up again? But it's not just Sinnoh and Hoenn. These echoes ripple across all regions, creating a web of warnings. Back in Kanto, Moon's meteor scar still pulses under moonlight, where Clefairy gatherings have been spotted more frequently in recent game updates. That mysterious stone energy? It's amplifying, with players reporting Zubat swarms that evolve into Golbat en masse, as if the site's residual cosmic power is responding to urban sprawl encroaching on Cerulean Cave. An old miner in the cave mutters, "The moon weeps stones now," foretelling shadows in the sky. And those legendary birds, their perches at the power plant, Seafoam, and Victory Road aren't abandoned. Trainers encounter static bursts near the plant, icy chills in Seafoam that freeze screens, or heat waves in Victory Road that cause fire types to appear unbidden. It's like Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres are circling closer, stirred by Kanto's industrial threats, power shortages, toxic wastes seeping into the earth. In Johto, the bell tower and ruined brass tower stand as twin sentinels, their energies intertwined with resurrection and loss. The monk in Ecruteak speaks of Ho-Oh's rainbow promise, but lately his words carry urgency. The flames that burn the brass tower flicker again in dreams. Eternal happiness? Only if we heed the beast's unrest. Players climbing the bell tower feel it, a warmth that lingers, with Suicune's north wind brushing past even without summoning. Encounters there include spectral Pokémon, like the legendary beasts roaming freer in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, their howls echoing against modern poachers or the encroaching shadows of Team Rocket's remnants. The tower's residual life force from Ho-Oh's revivals seems to pulse brighter when Johto's harmony phrase, overhunting in the Safari Zone, or polluted waters in Tian Wood. You step inside, and the air shimmers, as if the sites are breathing, warning of a world forgetting its balance. Unova's Dragon Spiral Tower takes this further, a spiral of stone where the original dragon's essence fractured into Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem. That elder in Opelucid isn't just storytelling, he's cautioning. The harmony broke once, he says, and the tower remembers. Lately, its coils glow with unrest as ideals clash anew. In black and white, the tower's energy field warps the weather, but players in the sequels note persistent anomalies, dragon types nesting unusually high, or black and white flames flickering on the spire. It's responding to Unova's divides, corporate greed in Castilia, ideological battles echoing the brothers' feud. Encounters, trainers battle shadow versions of the dragons during storms, hints from NPCs in Isirus about the 3-in-1 stirring against those who split the truth. The site's residual draconic power feels volatile, like it's bracing for another schism. Even Kalos weaves into this tapestry, with Terminus Cave as Sigardi's watchful eye, and the ancient stones around Geosenge humming with Xerneas and Yveltal's life-death cycle. Route 13's researchers don't mince words. When the ecosystem teeters, Sigard awakens from its cave. We've felt the ground shift, life blooming and withering in unnatural rhythms. Players delving Terminus report glowing cells, collecting spontaneously, or Yveltal's destructive aura causing random faints. Parfum Palace texts, once quaint, now seem prophetic amid Kalos's beauty industry boom. Over-exploitation of rare berries, battles scarring the land. The cocoons of eternal life and absorption? They're pulsing, with NPC artists in Lumiose whispering of visions where the tree of life withers and the order arises. You can feel the tension building, can't you? These sites, Spear Pillar's temporal echoes, Sky Pillar's primal surges, and their kin across the regions, aren't isolated. They're linking up, residual energies intertwining like threads in a grand weave. Imagine a convergence where Kanto's meteor scars align with Johto's resurrection flames. Hoenn's seas crash against Sinnoh's creation pillars. Unova's dragons coil with Kalos's life guardians. Player encounters multiply. Global event tie-ins in the games, like mystery dungeon crossovers or anime episodes where legends from multiple regions stir simultaneously. NPCs drop broader hints. An old sage in Undella Town speaks of the myths converging as threats grow that span the seas. It's a warning. Contemporary dangers, from megacorporations to environmental collapse, are awakening these forces not just regionally, but on a world scale. What does this mean for you, trainer? Every time you visit these sites, you're not just sightseeing, you're tapping into a network that's alive, reactive. That glitch in Spear Pillar? It might be Dialga sensing time's acceleration from our fast-paced world. The glow in Sky Pillar, Rayquaza eyeing rising seas from our neglect. Players have compiled maps of these anomalies showing patterns, energies peaking during solstices, or when rare Pokémon migrations falter. In Sword and Shield's DLC echoes, even Galar nods to it, with Crown Tundra ruins pulsing similarly. But in our core regions, it's clearest, a potential grand convergence, where these legends don't just stir, they unite. Against what? The subtle erosions we ignore, vanishing habitats, unchecked ambition, the very myths we treat as fiction. Hold that thought, because as we peel back these modern echoes, we're on the cusp of understanding what endures beyond the warnings. Up next in Legacy of the Ancients, we'll uncover how these timeless forces shape the path forward, revealing secrets that could redefine every region you thought you knew. You won't want to miss how it all ties together. Legacy of the Ancients. From the moment a meteor crashed into Mount Moon in Kanto, scattering moonstones that Clefairy still revere under the night sky, the ancient legends of Pokémon have woven themselves into the very soul of this world. These stories aren't just tales told around campfires in Viridian Forest. They're the threads that bind every region together, shaping how trainers like you understand the chaos and wonder of Pokémon battles, evolutions, and unbreakable bonds. Think about it. What if the roaming shadows of Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres aren't random encounters, but echoes of elemental forces that have tested humanity's place in the world since the dawn of time? As we wrap up our journey through Kanto to Kalos, it's clear these legends don't fade with the ages. They pulse through the lore, influencing everything from the design of gyms to the moral choices you face on your own path to becoming a champion. Let's start where it all began for so many of us, in Kanto. The lore of Mount Moon isn't merely a backdrop for early game adventures, it's a cornerstone of Pokémon's cosmic heritage. That meteor strike, referenced in the dusty journals of the Pokémon Mansion on Sinnoh Island, introduced the idea of extraterrestrial origins for species like Clefairy and Jigglypuff. But go deeper, and you see how this ties into the broader tapestry. The legendary birds, those elusive guardians of storm, frost and fire, roam not as villains or heroes, but as primal embodiments of nature's fury. The power plant's flickering lights, haunted by Zapdos's electric presence, remind us of humanity's fragile grasp on technology against raw power. Seafoam islands, with their cascading waterfalls and icy caverns, cradle Articuno as a symbol of untouched wilderness, while Victory Road's scorching tunnels whisper of Moltres' rebirth from volcanic depths. These aren't isolated myths. They've influenced Kanto's entire ecosystem lore. Why do trainers carry revives and elixirs? Because the birds teach us that life in the Pokémon world is a cycle of destruction and resurgence, much like how a forest regrows after a lightning strike. You, as a trainer, inherit this legacy every time you navigate Route 1 or challenge the Elite Four. It's a reminder that harmony with these forces isn't optional, it's survival. Carrying that spark across the sea to Johto, the legends evolve into something profoundly spiritual. The brass tower's tragic fall, engulfed in flames for 3 agonizing days, as recounted by the solemn monks of Ecruteak City, wasn't just a disaster, it was the birth of the legendary beasts. Ho-Oh, descending like a rainbow phoenix from the bell tower, resurrected Raikou, Entei and Suicune from the ashes, turning loss into a blazing testament to renewal. This story ripples through Johto's lore like a perpetual heartbeat. The beast's endless roaming isn't aimless, it's a vigil for the balance Ho-Oh promises to those pure of heart, as the Bell Tower Elder declares that a glimpse of the rainbow Pokémon grants eternal happiness. Imagine you're trekking through the burned tower's ruins, feeling the weight of that ancient fire. It's not just atmosphere, it's lore dictating why Johto emphasizes spiritual growth over brute strength. Trainers here learn early that conflict, like the tower's blaze, forges unbreakable spirits. The beasts challenge you to prove your worth, echoing how Ho-Oh's resurrection mirrors your own Pokémon's recoveries after tough battles. This legacy endures in every kimono girl performance in Ecruteak, every pilgrimage up the bell tower. It's a call to rise from your own defeats, renewed and ready. Now shift your gaze to Hoenn, where the legends scale up to cataclysmic proportions, literally reshaping the land and sea. The murals etched into Granite Cave and the lofty inscriptions at Sky Pillar don't just decorate, they encode the primal conflict that defines Hoenn's world building. Groudon and Kyogre, those titanic rivals of earth and ocean, clashed in battles so fierce they nearly unravelled the continent, as the elders of Setopolis City still murmur in hushed tones. Their war wasn't petty, it was the ultimate test of elemental opposition, flooding cities and cracking mountains until the world teetered on oblivion. Enter Rayquaza, the sky-high mediator, coiling down from the ozone to the Sky Pillar, forcing peace through sheer authority. Wallace, with his poetic flair, retells this as the moment the dragon calmed the titans and restored harmony, birthing the primal reversion mechanic that lets you tap into those ancient powers today. This lore isn't confined to dusty ruins, it permeates Hoenn's every wave and quake. Why does the Weather Institute obsess over storm patterns? Because Groudon and Kyogre's legacy warns of imbalance's cost. As a trainer diving into the seafloor cavern or soaring on Latias's back, you feel this tension. Conflict drives evolution, but only harmony sustains it. Rayquaza's intervention teaches that true strength lies in mediation, a lesson that echoes in your double battles and team synergies, urging you to balance your own party's fiery passions and watery depths. Venturing northward to Sinnoh, the legends ascend to the metaphysical, crafting the very rules of existence. The Sinnoh myths, preserved in the Canalave library's flickering lamplight, proclaim Dialga as the shaper of time, its roars ticking the seconds of every Pokémon's lifespan, while Palkia bends space, folding the regions into the vast expanse we explore. But lurking in the shadows of the Distortion World is Giratina, the outcast enforcer, banished for its volatile nature, yet essential to the Triad's stability. Spear Pillar stands as the epicenter, its weathered ruins not just a boss arena, but the mythical cradle where creation sparked. A place where all began, as the lore carves into stone. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's the backbone of Sinnoh's lore, explaining why time flows differently in certain caves or why spatial distortions warp battles in the Turnback Cave. The legend's impact here is profound. They justify the region's focus on mythology and discovery, from the galactic building's hubris to the quiet reverence at the Snowpoint Temple. You, piecing together myth fragments as a trainer, confront the same themes. How do you harness time's flow in a delayed gambit strategy, or navigate Palkia's warps without losing your bearings? Giratina's exile reminds us that conflict, even among creators, is inevitable, but renewal comes from embracing the full spectrum, shadows and all. Sinnoh's legacy pushes you to ponder your Pokémon's origins, turning every capture into a brush with the divine. Unova brings us to a more human scale, where legends mirror our own divisions and dreams. The tale of the original dragon perched atop the Dragon Spiral Tower until it fractured isn't a distant myth, it's a parable of brotherhood gone awry. Two heroes, one championing truth with Reshiram's flames, the other ideal with Zekrom's thunder, quarrelled so deeply that the dragon sacrificed itself, splitting into the duo and leaving Kyurem as a hollow remnant. An elder in Opelucid City speaks of how it shed its body and became three, marking the spot where ancient harmony shattered into ideological war. This lore infuses Unova's urban sprawl and rustic roots with tension. Why does the Pokémon League feel like an ideological summit? Because Reshiram and Zekrom embody the eternal debate between facts and aspirations, influencing everything from the Pokémon musical's expressive flair to the moral quandaries in N's arc. As you climb the tower, or fuse Kyurem in the giant chasm, you're not just playing a game, you're reconciling those fractures. The legend's enduring echo warns of conflict's price on unity, yet offers renewal through the black and white dragon's potential alliance. For trainers like you, it's a timeless nudge. In a world of choices, from battling Team Plasma to choosing your starter, seek the truth in ideals, mending what was broken to forge ahead stronger. Finally, Kalos ties these threads into a delicate web of life and death, vitality and vigilance. The Parfum Palace's opulent texts and the shadowed whispers of Geosengetown paint Xerneas as the deer-like bestower of life, awakening forests and Pokémon from slumber before retreating into 1,000-year sleep. Yveltal, its crimson counterpart, reaps that vitality to cocoon in hibernation, a necessary counterbalance to prevent overgrowth. but overseeing it all from the depths of Terminus Cave is Zygarde, the coiled guardian, emerging only when the ecosystem teeters. As Route 13's researchers affirm, it's the silent sentinel of balance. This triune legend doesn't just explain Kalos' lush biomes and fairy-type renaissance, it underpins the region's law of eternal cycles, from the Lumiose city's electric pulse to the ancient war ruins that scarred the land. Why does Mega Evolution feel so transformative? Because Xerneas' life force echoes in those bonds, amplifying harmony between trainer and Pokémon. You feel this legacy in every prism tower climb or glittering cave delve. Themes of conflict arise when Eviltal's destruction unchecked spirals into chaos, yet renewal blooms through Zygarde's watchful order. Kalos challenges you to reflect. In your journeys through Shallow City or against Azez's immortal regret, how do you nurture life without tipping the scales? Synthesizing it all, from Kanto's starry meteorites to Kalos' vital equilibrium, these ancient legends form the unbreakable spine of Pokémon lore. They've evolved with each region, not as static relics, but as living influences that dictate the world's rules. From the bird's elemental perches shaping Kanto's wild terrains, to Ho-Oh's resurrections inspiring Johto's hopeful quests, Rayquaza's mediations tempering Hoenn's primal rages, the creation trio's metaphysics grounding Sinnoh's vast cosmos, Unova's fractured dragon fueling ideological fires, and Kalos' life guardians enforcing delicate balances. This enduring impact isn't accidental. It's a masterful design that makes every region feel interconnected, every legend a puzzle. Piece in a grander narrative. You see it in the shared motifs, roaming guardians, ruined towers, cosmic origins. These stories have seeped into gameplay mechanics, from type advantages born of elemental clashes to revival items echoing resurrection themes, ensuring that no matter where you badge hunt, you're walking in the ancients' footsteps. Now pause and let this sink in. What do these legends truly teach us as trainers? At their core, they revolve around harmony, conflict, and renewal, timeless lessons that transcend pixels and playthroughs. Harmony isn't passive, it's the active choice Rayquaza makes to descend, or Zygarde's quiet vigilance, urging you to build teams where fire tempers water, not drowns it. Think of how a balanced squad turns a losing streak into victory. Conflict, raw and inevitable, drives the narrative. Groudon versus Kyogre's world-shaking brawls, or the Unova brothers' schism, mirror the rivalries you face, teaching that opposition sharpens skills, but unchecked, it destroys, like Team Rocket's ambitions or Lyssandra's ultimatums. And renewal, that's the hope threading through it all. Ho-Oh pulling beasts from flames, Xerneas awakening dormant life, even Giratina's shadowed existence, ensuring creation's full circle. These remind you that every fainted Pokémon, every gym setback is a chance to evolve stronger. As a trainer, you're not just collecting, you're embodying these themes. Have you ever felt that rush when your underdog Charizard soars like Moltres, or when a strategic switch echoes Rayquaza's calm? That's the legacy at work, turning solo adventures into profound reflections on coexistence. In a world quick to divide, types, regions, ideals, these myths whisper that true mastery comes from weaving harmony, from conflict, emerging renewed. They're lessons for life beyond the screen. Navigate your own storms with balance, rise from ashes with purpose, and always seek the harmony that binds us. But here's the beauty. These ancient legends aren't locked in the past. They live on in every new game, every fan theory, every bond you form with your Pokémon. From Kanto's first steps to Kalos's elegant finale, they've shaped a universe that invites endless discovery. So what are you waiting for? These myths are waiting for the next hero, you to awaken them. Step into the wild, chase those legends, and see how their legacy becomes your own story. Thanks for joining me on this epic dive into Pokemon's ancient heart. Until next time, keep exploring. If this story resonated with you, there's so much more to explore. Tap the Pokemon playlist to continue the adventure, and save it so you'll always have something soothing to fall asleep to, or choose the recommended video for another deep dive.